Returning to my university days. Once again, I face a choice between the two top campus beauties. I straight up throw $200 at Campus Beauty Shen. Then I pull up my pants and head off to chase Campus Beauty Sue. Not because of her slim waist, long legs, or 36D cup, but because in my past life, this silly girl loved me for a lifetime. Not only did she confess to me publicly at the graduation gala, she even went as far as selling off her family assets to fund my business. In contrast, the bitch I chased for 15 years in my past life, not only did she constantly keep me on her hook like a fish, she even framed me and sent me to prison, ultimately arranging a peanut execution bullet for me. As the gunshot echoed through every corner of the prison, my surroundings suddenly transformed into a pitch-black room, and I felt something wonderful in my palms. Tilde. A woman's soft moan and heavy breathing drifted into my ears. Realizing what was happening, I slowly withdrew my hands from that overflowing softness and lunged upward. I looked around in shock. There was only a faint flicker of candlelight. My gaze eventually landed on the nightstand. The bedding was all neatly laid out. And lying on the bed was a woman, 36D, a water snake waist, plus a pair of stunning long legs squeezed into white silk stockings. Where am I? Wasn't I facing the death penalty? And who is this woman? My panicked eyes darted to every corner of the room. The calendar on the counter read 2008. Stripped naked, a drop of cold sweat rolled down my forehead. I slowly stepped off the bed and pulled back the curtains. The city nightscape outside was all too familiar. Luoheng University, a place that carried my most painful memories. I looked back at the girl on the bed and gasped. She was covered by only a tiny scrap of fabric. Her silhouette was partially visible, perfectly embodying the word temptress. When I saw her face clearly, my body jolted. Sukle, one of the top 10 beauties of Luoheng University. Memories of my past life came flooding back. I whipped my head around and saw the camera from my memories that had recorded everything. All of this was arranged by that woman. She wanted to ruin Sukle's reputation. Filled with remorse, I tugged at my hair as regret surged in my heart. I froze, seemingly realizing something. I checked the sheets, not a single trace of blood, and let out a heavy sigh of relief. I sat by the bed, picked up the camera, and pulled out the memory card. Having been reborn, a thought struck me. I smiled, tucked the camera into my clothes, and a plan instantly formed in my mind. But at that moment, the bed vibrated slightly. I looked back and saw Sukle's eyes fluttering open, her slender fingers brushing through her hair. She rolled over, the blanket slipped, and Sukle woke up. Our eyes met. One of us glanced at the woman's private areas, the other at the man's. The air seemed to freeze. Yiling! I was left stunned by Sukle's instant recognition. Wait, sister, it's pitch black in here and you still recognize me? Two naked people sat face to face in total awkwardness. For a moment, Sukle didn't know which part of herself to cover. I gulped. Believe me, I really didn't do anything. Then, subconsciously, I couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. But how could she possibly believe me? I moved forward on my knees across the bed, trying to get closer to prove my innocence. But Sukle scrambled back several steps, clutching her clothes tightly to her chest and pointing a finger at me. Indignation and grievance flooded her heart like a tide, and her eyes shimmered with tears. I was at a total loss. I really hadn't done anything. But in this situation, damn, not even God himself could explain this away. With a long face, I decided to just roll with it. Fine, Kele. Let's just say I did it, okay? Don't worry, I'll definitely take responsibility for you. Get out! Sukle stood up and hurled my clothes violently into my face. We will pretend today never happened, Sukle sobbed, wiping her eyes with her fingers. But from now on, we have nothing to do with each other. And just like that, I was kicked out of the room. Inside the room, Sukle sat with her head down, searching for something. She turned the whole room upside down but couldn't find a single little wrapper. She started crying even harder. Yiling, you bastard! Did he not even wear one? Having been kicked out, I stood in the cold hallway. Feeling a chill down there, I sighed helplessly. To be reborn only to end up in such an awkward predicament. But at least I hadn't ruined Sukle like I did in the past. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, my phone rang. 5 words on the screen were particularly eye-searing. Goddess Shen Zuchin. I smiled bitterly, but a flash of playfulness soon crossed my eyes. and I answered the call. Yiling, did you take the photos and videos? If you did, bring them to me immediately. As a reward, I'll let you deliver breakfast to me for a whole week. Hearing that all too familiar voice, my gaze turned distant, then my mouth twitched. I've already taken them. Really? Shen Zuxin sounded overjoyed. I could even hear the cheers of her dorm mates through the phone. Then bring them to me in the morning. I'll post them on the campus forum tomorrow. There can only be one campus beauty, me. I let out a snort. Don't get ahead of yourself, because I'm not giving you the camera. I hung up. Setting my mind right, I headed back to my dorm. The next morning, a red gift box on the desk caught my attention. Damn, I forgot I prepared a birthday gift for that White Lotus. I'd go return it in the afternoon. Holy crap, it's 7:40. I have an 8 a.m. class. The 6 of us threw on our gear and bolted toward the teaching building like lightning. Entering the classroom, I scanned the room but didn't see the person I was hoping for. Sukle didn't come? My heart sank, but I could roughly guess where she was. Seeing Yiling walking in her direction, Liao Qingqing gave a disdainful smile. Zuchin, look, he's even holding a gift box. Looks like a YSL limited edition. Shen Zuxin pouted with immense arrogance. Just put the gift down. I forgive you for yesterday. Hurry up and give me the video. I, who just wanted to find a random seat, paused and stood there watching Shen Zuxin's performance. Fine. I know you like me. You don't need to say those things. I understand your feelings. But I'm going to punish you. No delivering breakfast for me for a whole week. But I blurted out 2 words. Dumbass. Who are you calling names? Liu Qingqing immediately snapped back. This woman was no good either. In my past life, I had sent her countless gifts just to chase Shen Zuxin. Was I talking to you? Get over yourself. Yiling, what do you mean? You clearly know today is my birthday, Shen Zuxin said, her eyes fixed on the limited edition lipstick box. I don't believe you bought this gift for someone else. I laughed. Just because it's your birthday doesn't mean every gift I buy is for you. Does every gift today have to be given to Shen Zuxin? Who do you think you are? I pulled the lipstick out of the box, waved it in front of Shen Zuxin's eyes to see her stunned expression, then smiled breezily and went to sit in the back row with my 5 roommates. On the other side, Shen Zuxin felt a hollow pit in her stomach. Even during the lecture, she was dazed. The teacher's words were like white noise to her. After agonizing for a long time, she finally couldn't resist sending Yiling a message. Sitting in the back row, my phone vibrated. I opened it to find a message from Shen Zuxin. Yiling, what is wrong with you? You weren't like this before. Fine, if you won't give me the video, don't. Can't you be more broad-minded? I'm telling you, if you keep acting like this, I'm gonna be really angry. That string of messages almost made my brain short-circuit. What a White Lotus. Even a catfish would vomit her back up. I replied, just wondering, do you often tattoo frogs on ants? Shen Zuxin froze in front of her screen. She handed the phone to Liu Qingqing. Qingqing, what does Yiling mean by this? Liu Qingqing glanced at the message and her mouth twitched. Tattooing a frog on a salamander? He's calling you a show-off. Ugly piece of work. Shen Zuxin was stunned. When she finally realized the insult, her anger flared up instantly. Yiling, are you even a man? Can't you talk to me properly? Stop being so sarcastic. Looking at Shen Zuxin's reaction, I wanted to laugh more and more. As for her messages, I didn't intend to read them at all. Liu Qingqing patted Shen Zuxin's shoulder. What's so good about this Yiling? He has no money and no looks. Looking at him now, he's nothing. Hasn't Senior Chen been treating you well lately? He has money and status. He's way better than Yiling. Liu Qingqing's consolation seemed to give Shen Zuxin a sudden boost of confidence. I'm one of the top beauties of Luoheng University. Why should I take crap from a loser? The evening glow fell over the classroom. As the bell rang, the students flooded out. Walking in the middle of the crowd, Shen Zuxin kept her head down, her eyes hesitant. She wanted to look back and see what Yiling was doing. Don't look back. Looking back just gives him face, don't you get it? Liu Qingqing saw through her and gently tugged her arm. Hearing this, Shen Zuxin hardened her heart, quickened her pace, and walked out of the classroom without looking back. My roommates looked at Shen Zuxin and then at me. That Shen woman seems pretty fired up. Are you really not gonna go say something? Exactly. Letting go in just one day? Either you're a jerk or I'm a fool. I spread my hands nonchalantly. Letting go in one day? Who could possibly know the bone-deep pain from my previous life? Leaving the classroom, I went the opposite way of my roommates, walking alone through the hallway bathed in the sunset. Yiling, aren't you eating with us? I waved them off. You guys go ahead, the prince is gonna see his princess. I touched my mushroom-cut hair and headed to the One Snip of Plum barbershop. An older lady combed through my hair. What style you want, young man? A textured fringe. A what? A buzz cut or a bowl cut? My mouth twitched. Auntie, just follow what I say. Cut it like this, then like that, then a bit like this, and it'll be okay. She had a moment of realization. Like this, then like that, right? And then like that. Half an hour later, a fresh and clean-cut college student stepped confidently out of the shop. Next, I returned the lipstick and bought a set of loose Korean-style clothes and a pair of clean white sneakers. Grinning at the mirror, I thought, a refined scoundrel should look exactly like this. Outside the mall, Shen Zhuxin and Liu Qingqing stepped out of a Porsche 718, followed by a guy in a suit. Zhuxin, that guy over there is so handsome, Liu Qingqing pointed ahead. Shen Zhuxin looked where she was pointing, but the more she looked, the more familiar he seemed. He looks like Yiling. No way! Liu Qingqing quickly pulled her glasses out of her bag, but once she saw the young man's face clearly, her mouth dropped into an O. It really is him. Liu Qingqing's mind raced, and a smug look crossed her face. I get it. He must have found out where we were having dinner, then dressed like this to come find you, Yuzhen. This kid really went through a lot of trouble. He's doing all this just to get your attention. Shen Zhuxin nodded, took the arm of the suited man beside her, and entered the mall. Little did they know, I was headed in a completely different direction. I arrived at the Xingshin Internet Cafe near the school, the place where Sukle and I first met. Sukle was a literal tough flower. Not only were her coding skills top tier, but she could also paint. At the same time, she was a total gaming addict. She smoked, she drank, she did it all. The internet cafe was practically her second home. Walking into the cafe, I scanned the room and quickly spotted the most dazzling girl in the crowd. Pure white hair, a cigarette in her hand, but a lollipop in her mouth. The collarbone above her dress was sharp and clear, and one could even see the valley between the mountains. I took a deep breath. I want to challenge my weaknesses. I looked at the manager. Station 13 for the night, and give me 10 lollipops. The young girl at the counter, wearing heavy smoky eye makeup, nodded. She stared for a long time before she could bring herself to hand over the card. What a handsome man. Wearing a mask, I sat down at Station 13. The girl didn't seem to notice someone had sat next to her. She was busy puffing her cheeks out while playing a shooter game. Beside her, I held my forehead, caught between laughter and tears. Isn't this just a plus-size version of those loud gamer girls? My silent bride. That's the vibe. But this was likely due to her family background. Sukle had been brash since she was a kid, but she was always sincere with me. That was her shining quality. Because I didn't like it, she eventually quit smoking, stopped drinking, and became a girl who loved the fine arts instead. There was no why, only love. Thinking of this, I opened QQ and sentimentally posted a status update. There is no such thing as everlasting love. There is only me falling for you over and over again. The past was not grasped, but tonight we are destined to meet. In a KTV lounge, Liu Qingqing and Shen Zhuxin were staring at this update. I told you, he was definitely just trying to annoy you this morning. Liu Qingqing slammed the table, but Shen Zhuxin felt a bit unsure. I feel... maybe not. I don't know why, but something feels off. Back at Xingshin Internet Cafe, the girl took off her headphones, her cheeks puffed out in frustration. Can I even win this game once? So annoying! The little pufferfish closed Dota, opened QQ Speed, created a room and opened it for recruitment. Sitting opposite her, I saw a familiar ID, hemorrhoids everywhere. But after a long time, only one person joined the room, a level 1 account named Fujiwara Junhai. Sukle typed irritably, "Hey kid, if you're a newbie, don't come into my room. Don't wait around only to eat my exhaust fumes." She chewed her lollipop while staring at the screen. The next moment, her eyes widened like brass bells. There was only one word in the chat box. Start. Good kid. Arrogant enough. But within a minute, Sukle was dumbfounded. How was he taking corners so fast? Every turn, that newbie beginner cart hugged the wall perfectly, and every exit was smooth as silk. Sukle was getting smoked by a basic cart. Again, racing god? Sukle's face froze. Without a word, she started the second round. Same map, same result. The gap didn't shrink, It only grew larger. She went numb. She took off her headphones and stared intently at the IP address on the screen. Zingxin Internet Cafe. Sukle jumped up like a spring. Her cheeks were puffed, and her small fists were clenched tight. "Who is it? Come out right now!" "Racing God, your driving skills don't seem that great," I said, pulling off my mask. A clean, handsome face instantly struck Sukle's heart. Her lips hung open, unable to close. For some reason, looking at the Sukle in front of me, I could no longer suppress the long-lost tenderness in my eyes. I stuffed a lollipop into her mouth, then carefully took the cigarette from her hand and put it out. "Smoke less. It's bad for you. Just eat lollipops from now on." Looking at the person who had taken her innocence, Sukle was suddenly filled with an indescribable sense of grievance. She desperately wanted to speak, but the words wouldn't come out. "I'm sorry I didn't come to find you immediately. You were in a fit of rage back then. No matter how much I said, it would have been useless. Now, give me a moment to explain, okay?" As I spoke, I took out a bag of lollipops and placed them in front of Sukle. I'm a bit poor right now, so this is all I can give. Once I have more money, I'll make sure you have an endless supply of lollipops." Sukle rubbed her eyes, then gave a cold snort. "You're sick. And really stingy." I felt a surge of relief in my heart. I knew Sukle well. She had a sharp tongue, but a heart of gold. "What do you want to explain?" I calmed my thoughts. "I'm sorry for seeing your whole body." Sukle punched me in the head. "You really are sick, aren't you?" Even though I took a beating, I was still grinning. "Of course not. If you're willing, I can tell you the reason behind everything." Soon, I explained the entire sequence of events to Sukle. Although Sukle remained expressionless throughout, eyes don't lie. The sharp edge that had been in her gaze was gradually fading away. "So that camera didn't capture anything, and I didn't do anything to you. We were both drugged." Sukle bit her lip. "So, you really didn't touch me?" I pressed my hands together. "I really didn't. Look, there wasn't even blood on that bed. How could I have done that, right?" Hearing this, Sukle's cheeks flushed slightly, and the tips of her ears turned an involuntary shade of red. Seeing her dazed, silly expression, I couldn't help but laugh. The two of us just looked at each other in silence. "New glasses, new haircut. You actually look somewhat presentable now," Sukle mumbled. With a lollipop in her mouth, she turned her attention back to the computer. Looking into Sukle's eyes, my thoughts drifted back to the graduation gala of my past life. A drunk Sukle had grabbed my sleeve and shouted, "Yi Ling, why can't you like me? If you would just look at me once." "But I already like someone else." "I don't care." Sukle had pounded her fists against my chest, swinging them with all her might through her tears. "In this life, you can only like me. Even if you die, you have to like me." She was undeniably overbearing, but she also truly loved me. I gave a casual smile, simply staring at Sukle in silence. For the rest of the time, Sukle acted like a curious child, pointing at my screen. "How are you so fast? Why are your turns so smooth? Hey, look at this one!" Naturally, I answered her, patiently and tirelessly. Perhaps because we were so absorbed, the distance between us closed until we were practically touching. I could even feel Sukle's breath. My occasional humor often made her laugh. The girl's hair would brush against my hand as she moved. That tickling sensation of her hair on my skin caused my temperature to rise unconsciously. Sukle could also feel this hint of ambiguity, but she didn't seem to dislike it at all. Though Sukle looked like a bad girl, she actually had a great sense of propriety about everything, especially matters between men and women. Given her figure and looks, her pursuers could probably stretch all the way to France, yet she never accepted gifts from boys. In this regard, she was the polar opposite of Shen Zhuxin. "Are you hungry?" "Ah, what?" My sudden question left Sukle a bit bewildered. I smiled at her dazed look. "Stop playing games. I'll take you to get something to eat." Sukle's head nodded like a pendulum. I smiled knowingly, and soon we arrived at the snack street in the mall. I pulled Sukle to a noodle stall, rubbed my hands together, and then carefully covered hers. "It's so cold, yet you're wearing a short skirt. Don't you know winter is coming? Tuck your hands in. Stay warm." I let go with a smile and turned to the owner. "Boss, 2 bowls of small noodles. Extra spicy, no cilantro, but add garlic." Sukle stared at me suspiciously. "That's strange. Is it just that our tastes are identical? Or do you actually know what I like to eat? Tell me, are you interested in me?" I nudged her shoulder. "All right, sit down." I froze mid-sentence. My ears, red from the cold, were suddenly wrapped in two small hands. There, we're even now. Sukle instantly pulled her hands back into her sleeves. I touched my ears. The warmth was still there. A doting smile appeared on my face. Fine. Fine. There will be plenty of times for you to owe me in the future. 2 bowls of steaming hot noodles sat on the table. After a few spicy bites, the winter chill didn't seem so piercing anymore. After finishing her noodles, Sukle took out her lipstick to touch up her makeup, but she used too much force and the lipstick snapped. Sukle looked at the broken lipstick and silently stuffed it back into her bag. In that moment of pity, I grabbed her hand. Come on, I'm taking you to buy something. Sukle looked at her hand in mine, somewhat dazed. The two of us ran through the evening mall and stepped into the YSL store. Outside the mall, "My lady, what do you mean? You're still not coming back with me?" Shinzukin sighed. "You go back first. I want to walk for a bit to clear my head from the alcohol." "Fine then. Come back early." Liu Qingqing turned and went back to the bar. "Boss, give me one of those limited edition lipstick gift boxes." Sukle looked at the boxes on the counter. None were priced below 500. Her hands started to tremble. "Are you crazy? Why are we buying lipstick here? It's way too expensive." Sukle carefully tugged at my arm. I didn't care at all. Instead, I paid for it quite casually. An exquisite gift box was placed in my hand. "I want to buy your happiness. Is that not allowed?" I looked at Sukle's stunned expression. "All right, it's just a gift. Think of it as an apology for the hotel incident." Suddenly, Sukle's small fist hardened and she punched my leg. "If you mention that hotel again, I will rip your mouth apart." Okay, I won't bring it up." "Now you don't have to feel guilty, right?" Sukle pouted, her voice softening. "It's not about guilt. I'm not worth such an expensive gift. Yiling, don't you know? Gift giving should be mutual. Just because I broke one lipstick doesn't mean you should buy me a new one. If I lost my house, would you buy me a house too?" Her words were plain, yet they felt like a melody plucking at my heartstrings. "As you command." We walked side by side through the mall, and just then, I saw a familiar figure standing at the entrance of a coffee shop. She was wearing a gown and looked incredibly moving, but there was a strange look in her beautiful eyes. "Yiling?" I gave a slight nod, pinched Sukle's sleeve, and tried to lead her out of the mall. But the next second, my hand was suddenly grabbed. "Yiling, are you really not even going to greet me now?" A girl standing like an arrogant giraffe blocked my path. "Yiling? Don't you think you owe me an explanation for some things?" I was getting impatient. What could possibly be going on between us? Shinzukin bit her lip. "It's about yesterday. I sent you so many messages. Why didn't you reply? You were never like this before." Looking at her self-righteous expression, I said flatly, "I didn't feel like it. Didn't feel like it." Hearing this, Shinzuki nearly ground her teeth to dust. Her gaze shifted slightly, noticing the girl beside me. Her pupils dilated. Sukle? Sukle was already a famous campus beauty. Her cool, elegant look was the complete opposite of Shinjukin's sweet girl persona. Though their styles differed, there was one area where the difference was massive. Shinjukin looked at Sukle's heavy cargo and then looked down at her own light baggage. But soon, the lipstick box in my hand caught Shinjukin's attention. Unable to contain her excitement, she pointed at the gift box, her eyes once again flickering with the sincerity of a white moonlight. "Yiling, I knew it. You knew today was my birthday, so you kept this lipstick to give to me, right?" My mouth twitched. "How can you be so shameless? Why don't you take a guess?" Shinzukin pouted. "How could it not be for me? Are you really gonna give it to her?" As she spoke, Shinzukin pointed a finger directly at Sukle's nose. Sukle's brow furrowed, and she unconsciously clenched her small fists. I shook my head. "Don't misunderstand, it's exactly what you're thinking." Shinzukin continued to pout. "I knew you prepared it for..." "Wait, don't misunderstand. Exactly what I'm thinking? Yiling, you must be doing this to spite me, right?" But in the next moment, I placed the gift box firmly into Sukle's hands. Then, grabbing Sukle's sleeve, I turned to leave. Sukle followed behind me like an obedient child. "You're not allowed to leave. I didn't say you could go. Why are you leaving?" Shinzukin turned and ran to block us. Her hands were clenched tight, her voice cracking. "Yiling, you chased me for so long. How can you just stop whenever you feel like it?" Without even a hint of hesitation, I said calmly, "You're not as good as her, that's all." Upon hearing those words, The light left Shen Zuxian's eyes. She stood there, stunned. Sukle and I walked around her to leave the mall, but a voice came from behind us. "With that attitude of yours, you'll never be able to win me over." I intended to ignore this crazy woman, but the sleeve in my hand went empty. "Oh no!" I whipped my head around just in time to hear a crisp slapping sound. Sukele's slap landed perfectly on the side of Shen Zuxian's face. Shen Zuxian was slapped into a daze. She looked at me helplessly as I walked over, her voice thick with tears. "Why did you hit me? You're a bully, Yi Ling, she hit me." "Bullying?" Sukle nonchalantly opened the lipstick I gave her and applied it right in front of Shen Zuxian. Then, she turned back to me with a beaming smile. "It looks great. But my little ancestor, you didn't have to get physical." Sukele's expression shifted as she looked down at the fallen Shen Zuxian. "Because she doesn't deserve your concern." A bell seemed to ring in my mind. She doesn't deserve my love? It seems that's really the case. Seeing more and more people staring, I stepped forward to shield Sukle behind me. I knew her personality. She hits anyone she finds annoying. In my past life, whenever Shen Zuxian was out of line with me, Sukle would definitely go and teach her a lesson. And every time I would scold Sukle, Sukle would be incredibly sincere in her apology, but the very next time she would hit Shen Zuxian again. Her motto was clearly, "I'll do it again next time." Tears welled up in Shen Zuxian's eyes. She bit her lip and stared at me. "Can't you say something?" I took my lunch money out of my pocket and placed 200 yuan bills in Shen Zuxian's hand. "Sorry, my friend is a bit heavy-handed. Go see a doctor yourself." After saying that, I took Sukele's hand and left the scene of the crime under everyone's gaze. Looking at the 200 yuan and the backs of the two leaving, tears finally rolled down Shen Zuxian's face. At the crossroads between the male and female dorms, I let go of Sukele's sleeve and glanced at her hand. "Why did you suddenly slap her?" My tone was a bit helpless, knowing that Shen Zuxian's hot-tempered father might come looking for trouble. While I was worrying, Sukle turned away and twitched her mouth. I just really hate girls like her, and I feel happy being with you. So we should be friends, right? I felt like she was bullying you, and I wanted to help you vent. Is that not allowed?" Under the lights, Sukle puffed out one cheek like a little bun. She took 200 yuan out of her bag and carefully stuffed it into my pocket. "I hit her, so why should you pay? You're not allowed to give it back, or I won't be your friend anymore." Looking at her like this, I felt like the two of us were becoming sworn brothers or something. All right, it's late. Go back and get some rest, great king of class skipping." I was stunned. "How did you know I skipped class?" Sukle breathed on her fingers, stood on her tiptoes, and gently poked my forehead. "Because I pay a lot of attention to you too. Back in the dorm, 5 guys in flip-flops were drinking beer and eating skewers. When they turned to look at me, they nearly gave me a heart attack." "Bro, do you have a death wish? Being this handsome?" I stood at the door awkwardly, feeling uncomfortable under their gaze. I gulped. "That look in your eyes, you know what I mean, right? It's tainted." "Oh, Brother Jai, please don't." In the classroom the next morning. "Junior, can I have your QQ?" "No, senior. I already like someone." Lin Huanhuan counted on his fingers. "Old Yi, that's the 9th girl today asking for your contact info. 2 more, and I'll have to use my toes to count for you." Shen Zuxian, of course, witnessed Ye Ling being asked for his contact info. Her jealousy jar had somehow tipped over. Meanwhile, I was looking at my books, absorbing knowledge while organizing my thoughts for future plans. "Hello, Junior. My name is Chi. Can we get to know each other? Can I have your QQ? Damn, another one," I cursed inwardly. Just as I was thinking of how to reject her, an incredibly beautiful girl sat down beside me. Lin Huanhuan's eyes widened. Seeing that surging beauty, he took a sharp gasp of air. Senior, do you really want his QQ?" The girl smiled gracefully and lightly raised an eyebrow. "Oh, it's Junior Su. Sorry, how embarrassing." Chi covered her face with a book and scurried back to her seat. Looking at the goddess-like Sukle, Lin Huanhuan dazedly wiped the drool from the corner of his mouth. "Hi, Su, Campus Beauty Su." He grabbed my arm and immediately whispered in my ear, "You little brat, where did you meet such a beauty?" Lin Huanhuan pushed his palm against my face and looked at Sukle with deep affection. "Junior, how should I address?" "I think, classmate, you should be a bit more sensible right now. How about you leave first?" Lin Huanhuan's face froze. With a look of cold resignation, he shouldered his bag and slunk off to the back row. I watched Lin Huanhuan extend his middle finger in the distance. For some reason, I felt a sense of powerlessness, like I was taking a dump in the middle of a busy street. I turned my head with a smile. "How did you—" Just then, our eyes met as if they were sharing a kiss. I was stunned. Sukle narrowed her eyes, a dimple swirling on her cheek. "What's wrong, classmate Yeling? Keep talking." For a moment, the second half of my sentence was stuck in my throat. Why'd you stop talking?" Sukle peered at me from the left, then the right, even puffing out her cheeks. "Are you that popular? So many girls asking for your contact info. It seems you're not lacking for female friends besides me." Her words were dripping with jealousy. I took a lollipop out of my bag and stuffed it into her mouth. Sukle shifted the candy in her mouth, as if to say, "I forgive you. Isn't your elective course history? Why did you come here?" Sukle spread her hands. "Well, someone's elective is history, so I switched classes to keep him company. But it seems someone isn't very willing. Maybe I should just go then, tilde." Sukle stretched, her body forming an alluring curve. She got up from her seat, preparing to turn and leave. But the moment she rose, I grabbed her wrist. "Little lady, what are you doing?" I want you to stay with me." Outside, the setting sun hit their faces. The Tyndall effect appeared in the vast classroom, dust motes floating like floral accents. The boy held the girl's hand. The girl turned her head, looking smug. My gaze slid from Sukle's face down to her legs. I took an extra look at those jade-like feet wrapped in white silk. Sukle's face turned slightly red. "Where are you looking? There's desire in your eyes. You're a bad man." I chuckled and pulled her back into the seat, then draped my jacket over her legs. "Aren't you cold wearing so little? Can you wear more in the future?" Sukle closed her eyes lazily. Fine, tilde, I'll wear more next time." Sitting in the back row, Shen Zuqin felt dazed. Watching the intimacy between Yeling and Sukle, her nose crinkled with a sudden, inexplicable sting of bitterness. In a daze, the bell for the end of class rang. "Kaylee, give me your bag." 7 or 8 books were handed out for the elective today. "It's quite heavy. I'll carry it for you." "Okay, thanks. I'll treat you to a movie next time." I took her bag and the two of us walked out of the classroom side by side. Shen Zuxin stared blankly for a long time after the bell. She stood up and subconsciously blurted out, "Yi Ling, I'm so tired, help me with my bag." After a long silence, she looked at his seat. It was empty. Tears nearly escaped her eyes. We reached the dorm building. "I'm going up now, okay? Get some rest. Don't go to the internet cafe in the middle of the night again." "Don't worry. I'll definitely go." "Can't you be a bit more obedient?" Sukle giggled. "All right, I got it. You go back early too. Don't just worry about my rest." I swallowed and nodded, my eyes full of tenderness. Our paths crossed as we parted, and I hopped onto my bicycle. "Yi Ling, after class this afternoon, want to grab dinner?" I paused and turned slightly, the girl's bright eyes sparkling in my peripheral vision. "My roommates are taking me to karaoke this afternoon." A look of disappointment flashed through Sukle's eyes. "Oh, okay," I shifted the tone. "But if it's you, I think compared to them, you are a bit more important." A cool breeze blew past. The girl watched the boy ride further away. "So, did he say yes?" I rode all the way to the library. I found a quiet spot and sat down. I took out a piece of paper and a pen and started scribbling. There were too many things to do in 2008. Suddenly, a spark of inspiration flashed in my mind. 2008 meant the iPhone 3 was about to debut. The phone itself wasn't the point, but rather the touchscreen. It could bring multi-sensory gaming. In my mind, a green thing appeared, Fruit Ninja. As a top-tier IT professional in my past life, I could make it. But I patted my pockets. I didn't have a cent. No money, man. Just as I thought this, my phone rang. I answered. A clean, gentle voice came from the other end. "What are you doing?" After a whole afternoon of brainstorming, I rubbed my brow. "In the library. I've been thinking about some things, and my head hurts a bit." "A headache?" "Then look out the window." Confused, I looked out and scanned the surroundings. At the crossroads, a girl was standing in the distance, holding up 2 fingers in a peace sign. Startled, I stood up and rushed downstairs. Sukle also quickened her pace, holding an umbrella as she sprinted toward the library. At the library entrance, we stood together. "How did you know I was here?" "I told you, I pay a lot of attention to you." I couldn't help but smile. I took the umbrella from her hand and we walked toward the cafeteria. In the cafeteria, I ordered several dishes that Sukle liked. As soon as the food hit the table, the young lady started feast mode. Her little mouth went munch munch like a starving kitten. Feeling a bit hot from the frantic eating, she took off her jacket. My eyes immediately dropped from her cherry lips. Great absorption. It all went to those parts. I noticed my chopsticks hadn't moved. Sukle felt something was off. She bit her lip. "Aren't you eating?" She silently retracted her chopsticks. I laughed out loud. "Go ahead and eat, it's all yours. I'll order more if it's not enough." Hearing this, Sukle immediately went for a chicken leg smothered in sauce. She stuffed it in her mouth and held her face as if she were in heaven. "Is it good?" Sukle, with a bone still in her mouth, nodded her little head. "Eat slowly, don't stuff yourself." As I spoke, I also picked up my chopsticks and grabbed a medium-sized piece of meat. Sukle's nose wrinkled. She stared at me blankly. "What are you doing, stealing my meat?" Looking at her, I silently placed the meat from my chopsticks into her mouth. "Eat a big piece," Sukle giggled. "All right, you eat too. I'm not a dog that guards its food." She peeled a few shrimp for me. "What were you doing in the library all afternoon? Are you really going to be a bookworm?" I shook my head helplessly. "Preparing some things. I have ideas, but I'm lacking a lot of material resources." Sukle rubbed two fingers together. "Material resources? You mean cash?" I nodded. Sukle simply placed her bag on the table. "Take it yourself then." "Take it myself?" I was confused, but soon realized what she meant. "The amount I need might be a bit much." Sukle took a sip of Sprite and stared at me like a curious turtle. "How much is a bit?" I silently held up two fingers. 2,000? She asked. "I have that in my bag." I shook my head. 200,000. "How much?" Sukle nearly spat her Sprite in my face. I knew Sukle couldn't help with this, but it was good to let her know. I lowered my head in thought. I never planned to rely on her. After all, our connection was still relatively new. But just then, a small finger tickled my palm. "My dad left me a house as a dowry. I can sell it and lend you the money?" In that instant, I was stunned. Sukle lowered her head, taking small bites of her rice, occasionally looking up to peek at my shocked expression. Seeing her like this, the lake in my heart felt like a small stone had been tossed in, creating ripples. "Aren't you afraid I'll run off with your money?" Sukle shook her head. "Because you're not that kind of person." "Why do you think that?" "I think you're silly." I'm not silly." I smiled, then rested my chin on my hand, watching her eat. She looked beautiful. Sukle's mouth was stuffed full, and she looked at me with innocent eyes. Looking at this little foodie, my lips curved upward. "Don't lend money to people so easily in the future. By the way, how do you have so much money on you?" Sukle stopped chewing. She took a tissue and wiped the corner of her mouth. "Part-time jobs. I earn all my living expenses myself because I have no relationship with my family anymore." Her expression dimmed. I was taken aback. I knew her family situation wasn't good, but I didn't realize she didn't even ask them for living expenses. I suddenly felt bad for her and handed her a bottle of water. "What is your job now?" "Singer at a bar." I froze. A bar singer. I didn't think the job was unclean, but I was afraid she might get swallowed whole by such a deep-water industry. Sukle seemed to know what I was thinking. "Oh, bars pay well, otherwise it's hard to support myself. I might not rely on this for long." She forced a smile, using her strength to try and reassure me. "Kale, can you quit that job?" The chopsticks in Sukle's hand slipped and hit the table. "Do you want to say, 'I'll support you'?" She smiled faintly. "Yeeling, sometimes those words aren't actually cool. Anyone can make a promise, especially since neither you nor I have that capability right now." I nodded in compromise. Meanwhile, without Yeling to bring her food, Shen Zuxin had to go to the cafeteria herself. When she saw the massive line, her brow furrowed. "Is the line always this long?" Liu Jingqing and Shen Zuxin stood at the back, both looking miserable. Shen Zuxin followed her memory to the stall where she first ate with Yeling on her first day of university. To her surprise, she saw him there, but the person sitting across from him wasn't her. "He used to belong to me." Shen Zuxin's chest felt tight. "I'm the one who's his childhood friend. I'm the one who stayed by his side for 10 years. Near the table, Liu Qingqing stood to the side. "Yeling, what are you doing?" "Exactly what it looks like. Is there a problem? You're being weird." "But you like Shen Zuxin. Yeling, don't you like Zuxin? Is this what you call liking? I looked at them as if they were two cows, calm and unbothered. I felt a deep-seated disgust, especially toward Shen Zuxin. My heart was like cold ashes. I have no reason to keep being good to her when there's no result, understand? I laughed at myself. Shen Zuxin leaned her forehead against Liu Qingqing's back, grabbing her clothes. Qingqing, that's enough. Let's go. Shen Zuxin didn't understand. A boy she used to dismiss so easily was now saying words that made her eyes blur. Liu Qingqing looked baffled. She gripped Shen Zuxin's hand. Go! Men like this deserve to be scolded. If you won't do it, I will. She then launched into a 2-minute rant. I simply nodded casually. You've said a lot, but can you tell me what right you have to question me? Or rather, what qualification do you have to criticize me? For a moment, Liu Qingqing was speechless. Sukle listened quietly. She really wanted to go up and give Liu Qingqing a loud slap, but she remembered what Ye Ling said earlier and held back. Shen Zuxin bit her lip. Qingqing, let's go buy fried noodles. She tugged at Liu Qingqing's sleeve. She just wanted to leave this place where she was losing face. I nonchalantly ordered a bowl of dumplings and lowered my head to eat. Only after I calmed down did I look at Sukle with a smile. Kelly, if I chased a girl for 10 years without any response, yet I insisted on hitting the wall until it broke, would you think I'm stupid? To my surprise, Sukle shook her head very seriously. She took a lollipop out of her pocket, gently unwrapped it, and stuffed it into my mouth. Giving me your favorite flavor? Doesn't your heart ache? It does, but I don't want you to be sad. She put another flavor in her own mouth and made a peace sign in front of me, smiling. I was stunned. It took me a long time to snap out of it. Finished eating? Where are you going? I'll drop you off. Sukle tugged at the corner of her shirt. She shook her head and smiled like a little girl. No need. I have to go to work. It's very far. Our thoughts were completely different. I wanted to stay with her, but Sukle felt the boy was already tired. She didn't want to be like the people from his past, making too many demands. Looking at the boy's gentle spring-like smile was enough for her. She hadn't felt this much love in a long time. In the end, I leaned close to her face, and the sticks of our lollipops touched gently. The handsome boy was once again the only thing in her eyes. The girl shed her tough flower pride and turned her head away like a startled rabbit, but she couldn't help peeking at him. Then let me take my good friend there. Ah? A boy or a girl? Sukle looked at me as I raised an eyebrow at her. Her face turned red. The good friend, you mean, is me. I looked at her dotingly, turned with a smile, and gripped her wrist. Though her wrist was covered by clothing, I could still feel her warmth. Sukle wanted to refuse at first, but then she nodded obediently. The fierce, tough flower seemed to have met the sun that made her bow her head. Under the sunset, the boy had a hand worth holding, and the girl no longer lit a cigarette because her heart was no longer bitter. On the other side, Shen Zuxin calmed down with Liu Qingqing's comfort, but she still sounded tearful. Ye Ling. It seems he really doesn't want me this time. Ye Ling is just a vase that grew up a bit handsome, that's all. Zuxin, you have much better options around you. Suddenly, the phone on the corner of the table vibrated. Shen Zuxin looked at it blankly. Bai Chen. The next morning, a young man and woman stood outside a loan company. Miss Su, pleasure doing business with you. Don't worry, the money will be paid back soon. That house won't stay in your hands for long. The two left the company after completing the transaction. Looking at the money, I fell into thought. I will definitely pay this back within 3 months. Carrying a suitcase was too conspicuous, so I went to a mall and bought a platypus bag. I stuffed the money inside and put it on Sukle's back. Sukle made a face. This bag is so ugly. Ye Ling, do I have to wear it? She pouted, her fingers poking each other in front of her chest, looking at me with eyes ready to cry. It's fine. This only serves to highlight your beauty, I bluffed. Sukle nodded symbolically and then ran into a shop. When she came out, she had a Doraemon bag. She put the other half of the money in it and put it on my back. I couldn't help but smile. This one you picked looks quite good, Sukle pouted. So it highlights your ugliness, Tilde. I laughed out loud. Even though she was teasing me, she looked incredibly cute. Aren't you afraid I'm a bad guy? Lending me money so easily? Do you believe I'll just run away with the cash right now? Sukle was drinking Sprite. She made a gun gesture with her hand toward me. You? With a girl next to you, you don't even dare to hold her hand. You don't even dare to steal meat. Where would you get the guts to run away with the money? As she spoke, her handgun fired at my forehead. She even made the sound effect. I'm perfectly safe with you, Tilda. My lip twitched. Was I being looked down upon? I suddenly grabbed her hand. What are you doing? You said I was cowardly, so I'm being a bit bolder. Chatting away, the two of them arrived at a hot pot restaurant. Now that the funding issue is resolved, what can I do at this hour? I subconsciously placed food into Sukle's dish while my mind raced, calculating how to maximize my time. Sukle's mouth hadn't stopped moving from start to finish. The food in her dish was emptied and refilled and emptied. Stop feeding me. It's full, Sukle said with a flat face, her round eyes staring at me without fear. What are you thinking about? Don't just watch me eat. You have some too. As she spoke, Sukle picked up a piece of mutton. She placed it in her bowl to dip it in the sauce, then seized the opportunity to pinch both of my cheeks with her fingers. My mouth turned into a small O. Sukle stuffed the glistening, oil-slicked mutton into my mouth. She even reached out her small hand to pat my head before smiling with total satisfaction. As I chewed the mutton, the burden in my heart felt inexplicably lighter. That's more like it. Seeing my brow relax, Sukle finally took over the lead and started moving food from the hot pot into my dish. What's wrong? You haven't said a word while eating. I shook my head. Nothing. Are you full? Look, there you go again. Sukle's small fist hardened like a coconut, and she raised it to give me a thump on the head. Don't think that taking everything on your own shoulders makes things easy for me. Seeing that thinking expression on your face makes me worry a lot too, because I care about you too. I'll start overthinking things, you know? Seeing my blank expression, Sukle suddenly softened. Was I too mean? I let out a long breath and shrugged. No, I was just a bit anxious just now. I was afraid you wouldn't want to tell me. I really didn't mean to be mean to you. Sukle looked distressed. She looked like a little hamster bowing her head to admit a mistake. Cheeks puffed out, head down, and her small hands tucked between her thighs, not daring to make a sound. It's fine. I realized I shouldn't keep everything hidden. After all, Sukle was the girl meant to accompany me for a very long time, for a lifetime. I borrowed money from you because I'm starting a project. You might not fully understand right now, and you might think I'm being too bold. But don't worry, I will definitely get your house back for you. It's okay, if you can't get it back, the worst case scenario is I'll just belong to you. Sukle pointed at my nose, then at herself. You provide for me? Sukle rolled her eyes playfully. Or I could provide for you. Her words, half teasing and half sincere, left me a bit flustered. All right, stop playing. I'm developing software, but the code, the art, the venue, none of it is resolved yet. I don't know which to handle first. I laid out all my thoughts in one go. Unexpectedly, Sukle looked even more aggrieved. That tough flower now looked more like a delicate daisy. What's wrong? I was confused. Sukle's voice was full of grievance. Why did you tell me to? Stop playing. Do you think I was joking when I said I'd provide for you? I was stunned. So this little girl cared about that. Silly. How could I ever let you be the one to shield me from the wind and rain? But doesn't every successful man have a little umbrella behind him? I affectionately rubbed Sukle's head. Fine. My dear Sprite umbrella, I'll carry you with me everywhere from now on. Hearing this, Sukle felt a warmth in her heart. She gave a brilliant smile. Okay, where do you want to go after eating? Do you have class this afternoon? Sukle's head shook like a rattle. I have class, but I want to go to the internet cafe. She used her chopsticks to poke a piece of food like a white flag, waving it sheepishly. It's fine. If you want to play, go play. I'll go to the internet cafe with you. The internet cafe, my eyes flashed. An internet cafe really was a great place. The November river wind carried a hint of chill. The two of us got out of the taxi and stood at the intersection opposite the internet cafe. I took off my coat and gently draped it over Sukle's shoulders. Feeling the warmth of the coat that didn't belong to her, she looked up at me calmly. I'm not cold. You wear it. As she spoke, she tried to take the coat off, but Sukle didn't realize I was pressing her hands firmly to her waist. Not cold? Your little mouth is quite the liar. I lowered my head, cupping her small pink hands in mine and bringing them to my mouth to blow a gentle breath of air. The warm current flowed through the gaps between our fingers, brushing against her palms. Wear more next time. After saying that, I took her hand and led her across the street. As she walked, she couldn't help but complain. On one hand, you won't let me wear these things, but on the other hand, you love looking at them. So weird. No, It's all for you to see anyway. We entered the internet cafe. The girl at the front desk was the same one from my first visit. Hello, how long would you like to book for? I got straight to the point. Do you have any large private rooms? I need at least 4 or 5 computers. I want to rent it for about 2 months. Please wait a moment. I'll call the boss. Renting for 2 months isn't something a receptionist like me can set a price for. I hope you understand. After some back and forth with the boss, the price was set at 4,000 yuan per month. After paying, we entered the private room. The heating chased the chill from my body. At this moment, I felt more refreshed than ever. 2 months from now, we will surely welcome the first success of our lives. Sukle nodded with a beaming smile, giving a soft, seemingly cheering me on in her own way. Sukle took off the coat and slumped into an esports chair. Looking at the high-end computer she usually couldn't afford, she stared at me like a dazed little rabbit. Ye Ling, give me a computer to play on? My internet addiction is acting up. I felt like laughing at her wants to ask, but is too shy to ask expression. I stepped forward and gently rubbed her head. Of course you can. But will me taking up your computer affect your work? How could it? If I ever neglected you for the sake of work, that would truly be losing the forest for the trees. I took a sticker, wrote my name, and stuck it on the computer in front of me. This would be my dedicated machine from now on. Seeing her hesitant expression, I smiled. It's fine. Worst case, I'll have my friend bring me another computer. Without thinking, I made a call. Hey, lend me a computer. Give me the location. Guaranteed delivery in 1 hour. It's handled. Just play with peace of mind. What are you doing? I turned around and saw Sukle writing something at the computer. I leaned in and saw she had added 3 characters after my name. Ye Ling, Sukle. I gave a doting smile. This girl really knew how to make a guy happy. Sukle didn't speak. She just smiled softly. Under the lights, her long eyelashes shimmered like scattered stars. I was dazed. I wanted to keep looking at her like this for just a bit longer. You're still looking? If you keep looking, I'll... Hey! Sukle stood up hurriedly in her embarrassment, but her heel twisted slightly. My heart skipped a beat. The chair flipped over. Beneath the chair lay 2 people. The girl's chest was pressed against the boy's, and a fiery red lip print was left on the boy's face. The pressure of her chest made me breathe heavily. The dizzying sensation made me look at her in a daze. The flush on Sukle's cheeks was unique to a girl of her age, part sexy, part innocent. The 2 of us were inches from touching lips. Physical desire made my hand instinctively press against her waist. The feel of that slender waist made my hair stand on end just from the touch. In an instant, a long string of not suitable for children scenes flashed through my brain. Sukle looked at the lip print on my cheek, and the temperature of her ears rose to the limit. I could have easily had a passionate exchange of love with her in this atmosphere, but logic won out. Are you okay? I adjusted my body, got up, and effortlessly lifted Sukle in a bridal carry, placing her on the leather chair nearby. Sukle let out a breath. The look in her eyes was hard to read. It was almost as if she were saying, I gave you a chance, why are you so useless? I took off her high heels from beneath her black stockings. The slight pain made her toes curl. It hurts, right? Sukle nodded slightly like a child who had done something wrong, her face a mix of, it hurts so much, and, I have to be strong. My hand gently pressed against her ankle. Sukle squeezed her legs together and let out a soft, she said aggrievedly. It's been too long since I wore heels, my feet couldn't support me and I twisted it. Actually, you look great in flats too, Sukle nodded. But I thought dressing up nicely would give you more face in front of others. Hearing this, my heart trembled. So that's what she was thinking? Fortunately, I used to massage Shen Zuxin's feet often. For that reason, I had specifically learned Tuina from an old traditional doctor. My fingers pressed down gently on her ankle. It hurts, Tilda. Can you be gentler? Then I'll go slower. My fingers gently kneaded her ankle. Sukle's flushed face flickered in and out of view, and I got a full sense of the feel of her legs. My eyes were fixed directly on her legs. Sukle saw the gaze that carried a hint of desire. She just smiled, seemingly enjoying it. Do you like black stockings that much? No, I also like white, nude, and fishnets aren't bad either. Wait, I froze. What kind of wolf and tiger words just came out of my mouth? If I said I don't actually love looking at them now, would you still believe me? Seeing my addicted look, Sukle burst into a smile. Is that true or fake? I nodded frantically. How could I care about romance at a time like this? Then how about you move your hand first? You've already reached my thigh. I jolted. Looking down, I realized my hand had somehow migrated from her ankle all the way to her thigh. The stockings were too slippery. One slip and I ended up on the thigh. Sukle nodded seriously, her eyes looking as if she saw through everything. Too slippery. Slipping from the bottom up, why don't you slip up a bit further? I was stunned, my mind blank. Nani? There's such a good deal? Just then, the door to the esports room was kicked open. Son, your father is here. I'm leaving. Damn it, don't leave. Outside the door, Lin Huan was holding his computer. The child has grown up. He's no longer like he used to be. Get back here. I stood up and went to the door, but Lin Huan had essentially welded the door shut. Get back for what? Son, seize the opportunity. Even if your father has to die outside today, I won't let anyone in. I get it, damn it. She twisted her ankle. I'm massaging it. Lin Huan blinked twice. My mistake. He opened the door. I held my waist and rolled my eyes helplessly. The three of us stared at each other in an extremely awkward atmosphere. Lin Huan said stiffly, I got it wrong? What do you think, Grandpa? Seeing this, Lin Huan put down his computer and pressed his hands together. Sister-in-law, your brother got it wrong, haha. Sukle blinked in confusion. Sister-in-law? When did I become a sister-in-law? How come I didn't know? I hammered Lin Huan on the head, then forced a smile towards Sukle. Luckily, she wasn't angry. Lin Huan patted my shoulder. Ye Ling, the girl at the front desk told me you booked this whole room for 2 months. What are you planning to do? I nodded and told Lin Huan about my plan. The three of us sat in the small esports room and smiled at each other. God knows this fledgling bond was far purer than most relationships in the world. Time flew, and it was soon evening. Kaylee, is it time for you to go to work? I'll walk you. Sukle nodded and prepared to get up. Is Kaylee still going to work this late? I smiled. Otherwise, who do you think is funding the start of this project? Does money fall from the sky? Lin Huan nodded in agreement. Kaylee, let me borrow old Ye for 5 minutes. I'll give him back. Sukle looked a bit dazed as she watched Ye Ling being dragged out of the room by Lin Huan. Outside the door, Lin Huan handed me a cigarette. Through the crack in the door, he looked at Sukle waiting quietly inside. What are your thoughts on her? In terms of looks, she's better than Shen Juxian. Your taste is indeed much better than a loser like me. I let out a breath. What's the use of good looks? I pointed to Lin Huan's heart. You have to connect hearts. Lin Huan nodded in agreement. Once your sister-in-law is officially with you, I'll work hard to find you a younger sister-in-law too. My eyes flashed. Stop acting. Tell me, which girl do you have your eye on? An auntie smile spread across Lin Huan's face. I think I found her. Her name is Xia Shui from the acting department. My heart churned. I remembered clearly that this woman was not a good person. I patted Lin Huan's shoulder heavily. Bro, I support your relationship, but you have to be careful. Tell me if you have any trouble in the future. With that, the two went their separate ways. I then took Sukle's hand and walked out of the internet cafe. Sukle sat gently on the back seat of my bicycle, her arms around my waist, filled with a sense of security. Why did you think of taking me to work today? I was caught off guard by the question. Your foot is injured. I'm not worried about you going to work alone. My words were somewhat casual. Sitting on the back seat, Sukle clumsily wrapped a scarf around me, then used her hands to warm my ears. I know you're a bit angry because you think I'm wearing too little. I swear I won't do it again. Even if I do wear it, I'll only wear it for you, okay? On the high bridge in the evening, the crisp sound of the bicycle bell was frequent under my fingers. Hearing those words, I didn't know how to answer. After a while, the bike stopped. I put down the kickstand and gently patted Sukle's head. Go to work. Sukle stood there, looking at the bar behind her and then at the boy with the smile. Aren't you coming in? I shook my head, thinking of the greedy eyes of the men in the audience when Sukle was on stage. My intuition told me it was better not to go. Besides, I wasn't her official boyfriend. It felt like I was overstepping. But it's cold outside. Then help me warm up. I took Sukle's hand and brought it to my cheek. Go on, or your boss will deduct all your wages. Sukle sighed softly. She gave an and walked toward the bar. I didn't watch her back, but silently lit a melancholy cigarette. I didn't inhale. I just wanted to look cool. Smoking. I knew something was wrong with you. I had just blown out a smoke ring when I was slapped. I was annoyed at being slapped while I was lost in thought, but when I turned around, I saw Sukle with her cheeks puffed out like a bun. I was stunned. You? How? Before I could finish, she grabbed my hand and led me toward the bar. You clearly were worried, but didn't dare say it. I really wasn't. Really? Really? Sukle turned back and made a pig face at me. It's written all over your face. Just keep faking it, damn you. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Stop puffing your face out, you look like a bun. Sukle frowned. Someone who hasn't smoked for months smoking behind my back. You're the eunuch bun. I'm really fine. Go to work. How can a little girl be so overbearing? Sukle threw a hysterical tantrum. I am overbearing, so what? If I'm not overbearing, who else is going to dote on you so aggressively? That Shenzukan? My face felt stiff from the biting winter wind. I couldn't tell if Sukle's face was red from the cold or from being flushed by her own outburst, but it was plain to see. This girl was truly anxious this time. My look of sudden realization caused Sukle to stare at me for a long time. Both of her hands gripped my wrists, her voice turning soft. Anyway, I just don't like seeing you look so insecure. I also don't like seeing you having all these wild fantasies because of me. I don't like you acting like this. Sukle used the most timid tone to say the most overbearing words, sounding like she was pleading with the boy, yet also commanding him. I don't know if I'm important to you, but you are very important to me. The girl looked a bit dazed. Suddenly, a hand wrapped around her waist and her cheek landed perfectly against that burning chest. Two sounds reached her ears. One was the boy's heartbeat, the other was the boy saying, I'm sorry. At the bar, I sat on a high stool, swirling a low-alcohol tea cocktail in my hand as I watched Sukle holding the microphone. As I watched, I smiled. Sukle would probably never know in this lifetime just how bitterly she had loved me in our previous life. Lost in thought, I reflexively downed the drink in one go, accidentally biting my lip in the process. Buddy, wipe that off. You're bold for downing this drink in one gulp. I smiled, took the tissue, and wiped the corner of my mouth. Thanks. The man shrugged and pointed towards Sukle on stage. Your girlfriend? I waved it off. No, the man didn't buy it. Dishonest, regardless. There's definitely something special between you and that girl. How can you tell? Look at the light in her eyes. The man was also captivated by Sukle's singing. This girl is beautiful. At 11 o'clock, Sukle finished work. Carrying a guitar, she sat down next to me. Finished? Sukle nodded. I handed her a glass of freshly warmed milk. Drink it while it's hot. Sukle smiled sweetly and took a small sip. Are you going back to the internet cafe later? I nodded. Yeah, I'm going back to rush the code a bit. I want to redeem your house within 2 months. Suddenly, my expression froze. Wait, where are you sleeping? Sukle shook her head. I don't know. Then she tugged at my hand. I don't want to go back to the dorm. The girls there are too noisy. I sighed slightly, feeling a pang of sympathy. It's fine. Come back to the internet cafe with me later. Hearing that she could stay with Ye Ling, Sukle's head bobbed like a woodpecker. She couldn't have been happier. Seeing the two of them acting all lovey-dovey, the man opposite them couldn't help but chuckle. You're a college student? I nodded. Yes. What's the coding for? Software? I nodded again. That's right. After hearing this, the man stood up. Before leaving, he didn't forget to shoot me a look, directed at Sukle. The man seemed to remember something and turned back to hand me a business card, a media company. You can show it to your little girlfriend. If you have ideas, come find me. I looked at the card in my hand. Tong Xiaoqi. Yi Ling. You just tell them your ideas like that? I said frankly, he looks like a wealthy gentleman with capital. Just treat it as making a friend. The road ahead might get a little wider. Sukle nodded, seemingly understanding. Looking at her dazed expression, I took her hand. Let's go, taking you home. Just as we were about to get up, a wine glass was suddenly placed on the table out of nowhere. It's still early. Why don't you two stay for a while? We looked at each other. I couldn't help but frown because the person was too familiar. So familiar that I wanted to punch him the moment I saw him. Classmate Yi, long time no see. The man swirled the glass in his hand, but his eyes never left Sukle. I said coldly, Senior Bai, you still have the leisure and elegance to come to this bar so late at night? Bai Chen shook his head, the corners of his mouth curling up slightly. I heard recently that Kile was working here, so I wanted to see her. It's only natural for old high school classmates to catch up. High school classmates? I really didn't know about that. In my eyes, Bai Chen was at most the Prince Charming, who had appeared out of nowhere in Shen Juxin's heart. Sukle gripped my hand tightly, hidden displeasure in her eyes. Bai Chen, if you just wanted to see me, you've seen enough now. You can leave. Bai Chen shook his head. Junior Su, don't be so final. This seat cost me 3,000 yuan. Talking to me like this, isn't that a bit of a violation of the rule that the customer is God? Sukle could only grit her teeth. It was true. If she lashed out at a customer like him, she would lose her job. Kele, wait for me outside. Sukle shook her head. She could clearly feel that this so-called high school classmate was coming for her. Be good, I'll be right back, it's fine. After thinking for a moment, Sukle chose to compromise. I'll wait for you. After a moment, only the two men remained at the table. Bai Chen pulled out a check and placed it on the table. Name a number. Leave Sukle. I'm giving you a chance to escape poverty. What is Shen Juxin to you? My counter-question caught Bai Chen a bit by surprise. Bai Chen took a puff of his cigar. A woman, that's all. As he spoke, Bai Chen held up 3 fingers. My interest in a woman never lasts more than 3 months. Shen Juxin is a bit of an exception. She's quite pretty and worth savoring for a while. Sukle is even more different. She was my high school classmate. I spent a lot of effort on her back then, but this poor girl just had no vision. The check slid toward me. Looking at it, my palm ached from being clenched so hard, but I still picked up the check and a pen. Bai Chen smiled. Classmate Ye, you're very sensible. A moment later, 2 words were written on the check. Priceless. I picked up the check and waved it before Bai Chen's eyes, then pinned it to the table with the pen. My people are never something that can be exchanged for money. With that, I stood up, ready to leave this foul-smelling bar. But Bai Chen rose as well. I want you to do something for me. I'm giving you a chance, but I'm also telling you, this is the only one. Why do you think Shen Juxin asked you to film that video? You've already failed Sukle once. You'll only fail her a Seiko. Suddenly, a dark shadow walked past me. I looked back to see a very familiar scene repeating before my eyes. A resounding slap landed on Bai Chen's face. Sukle clenched her fist, rage spreading through her pupils. My man isn't for you to talk about. Bai Chen was stunned by the slap. You *****ing dare hit me? He rose, wanting to slap Sukle back, but as his hand went up, a muffled thud came from his head. I picked up a glass and smashed it directly onto the top of Bai Chen's head. The idiot's brain went dizzy. He leaned against the sofa, his vision only able to catch the faint silhouettes of the couple's backs. Outside the bar, I touched the fist Sukle had thrown. Dunce. Didn't I tell you to wait for me outside? Sukle imitated me, giving my forehead a gentle flick with her finger. I don't like him, and I especially don't want you to lose face. In a corner of the bar, someone with a lollipop in their mouth silently walked out. You guys play first, I'm gonna go beat someone up. Bai Chen was driving his Porsche on the highway, but the car's speed was getting slower and slower. Damn it! Bai Chen got out of the car. How is the tire flat? Soon, a loser wearing flip-flops walked straight toward the idiot. Before Bai Chen could finish a sentence, the man swung a club right into Bai Chen's neck. Back at the internet cafe, I put the soft bed I'd bought on the way into the private room. It wasn't large, just big enough for Sukle. Sukle lay on her side on the bed. Having bustled all day, the girl's breathing was heavy. I stayed up all night. Even while breathing, I had to hold my waist. Strictly because of the work, of course. Drinking a glass of hot milk, I rubbed my eyes. I slowly stood up, took a chair, and sat next to Sukle, quietly listening to her breathe. In the dim room, I watched her absent-mindedly, gently brushing a strand of her hair. Greedily, I cupped Sukle's hand, but out of timidity, I didn't dare hold it too tightly. For some reason, I couldn't quite suppress my desire. Taking a deep breath, I moved my lips close to her ear and touched her cheek with my palm. I like you. The voice was very soft and gentle, like a light breeze. I was about to withdraw my hand, but the second hand of time seemed to freeze, and my hand stayed on the girl's cheek. My wrist was grabbed. What's wrong? The girl's misty eyes carried a hint of charm, and her voice was laced with tenderness. My throat felt like it was in a vice. After a long pause, I choked out, I wanted to look at you. A sense of helplessness filled my heart. I wanted to break free from her grasp and pull my hand back, but Sukle's hand was like it was catching a wind that was about to disappear. She wouldn't let go. Don't move. I also want to look at you." In the silent room, the sound of breathing rose and fell. The girl curled up in the boy's arms like a little pig that didn't want to wake up. Her small hand gripped the boy's hem, unwilling to let go, yet she slept very soundly. The boy fell asleep too. He was truly too tired. It wasn't until after 10 o'clock that the two of them woke up. Sukle gave a massive stretch, narrowing her eyes as she savored the lingering sleepiness. Her gaze wandered around the room. When her eyes landed on the 4 top-spec computers, she subconsciously muttered something. Like a happy groundhog, she crept over to the computer desk. She instinctively looked around to see if Yeling was there, then clicked the computer on. But a second later, the door opened. Sukle jolted, immediately hitting the sleep button on the monitor, then sat there pouting, perfectly still. I laughed. "Stop pretending. You're pouting so hard you're afraid I won't know?" Sukle rolled her eyes and said aggrievedly, "What are you looking at? Just play." As I spoke, I walked to her side carrying breakfast and flicked her nose. "Eat breakfast first." I took a bottle of warm milk and a few buns out of the bag. "Eat up." Sukle nodded obediently. I patted her head. "You might not be able to play games for a bit. I want you to accompany me to Outsourcing Avenue to finish up the remaining business." In my heart, I had crossed off the requirements for funding and equipment. I could handle the code myself, so only the outsourcing remained. Sukle nodded and pulled on her black stockings. Her vigorous and swift attitude caught me by surprise. By the time we reached the outsourcing company, dusk had arrived. I was tapping on the contract in my hand, but Sukle looked rather displeased beside me. "That manager looks just like a weasel. He obviously thinks we're just college students and wants to scam us, quoting such a high price for a few pieces of concept art. Does he want to die?" I pressed my hand onto Sukle's head. Suddenly, her unhappiness vanished completely, her eyes looking very much at ease. When I pulled my hand away, she immediately pouted, used her small hand to put my hand back on her head, and went back to smiling happily. After a busy afternoon, the outsourcing was finally settled. It cost nearly 100,000 yuan, but fortunately, the light boat has passed the 10,000 mountains. "Start the grind!" At the internet cafe, upon my command, Sukle and Lin Huanhuan were both ecstatic. And so began a 2-month coding marathon. In the days that followed, time never looked back. However, there were some fun things amidst the busyness. For example, Luoheng University recently started the election for the new Top 10 School Beauties and Top 10 School Hunks. I wasn't sure if it was because of the competition. Sukle's attire suddenly reverted to her original cool, older sister style. But being selected as one of the top 10 school hunks was indeed unexpected. Lin Huanhuan said that a senior named Chi had submitted my name. We didn't know until it happened, and it actually caused a falling out between me and Sukle once. At that time, Kele was so annoyed that she sat next to me all day long. Oh, Tilde. Isn't this the great school hunky? Why are you sitting next to me? Oh, my Tilde, this won't do at all. Good lord, she almost broke me. But under these circumstances, my Q-zone was also a bit strange lately. That brat Shen Zuxian appeared in my visitor records every single day. Every time I saw her name in the visitors, I felt a bit depressed. She even claimed it was to attract attention, to let me know she had me in her heart. I've got your mother. 2 months later, on this day, Fruit Ninja went live. In the Xingxin Internet Cafe, the three of us stared at each other. Finally, all eyes fell on the iPhone 3 that had been bought with a lot of money. Looking at the game on the screen, Lin Huanhuan picked his nose. "Old Ye, you spent 2 months making this?" He took the phone and looked it over. Sitting next to him with her legs crossed, Sukle's eyes blinked. Faster than the eye could see, she snatched the phone from Lin Huanhuan's hand. "I don't care what it is, I want to be the first to play." As she spoke, Sukle narrowed her big eyes and pulled my arm. "How do you play this?" Looking at her bright, spirited eyes, I introduced her to the gameplay. Sukle snorted. "Slicing fruit? I'm way too good at that." With that, she pressed start with determination, and fruits began jumping out from all sides of the screen. Sukle's eyes moved quickly, her fingers sliding across the screen at high speed. She was having a blast. Seeing her immersed in the game, I nodded with satisfaction. At least it proved the game's appeal was sufficient. Then I looked at Lin Huanhuan and smiled. "What do you think of the game?" Lin Huanhuan dropped his usual playfulness and looked it over seriously. Short rounds, great sense of gratification, and the game is very simple. Hearing my friend's approval, I felt relieved. Hold ye. I always feel like something isn't quite right, but I can't put my finger on it. How to monetize, right? Lin Huan clapped his hands, suddenly enlightened. Right! I turned calmly to look at the spring scenery of the mountain city outside the window. Don't worry. To strike iron, you must be strong yourself. The sword forgers will come sooner or later. The next morning, I went to the school's publicity department. My goal was clear: pay a commission to have the game listed on the department's board as the first step of our promotion. I quickly met with the head of the publicity department. But the head herself caught me off guard. The moment I remembered I had rejected her request for my QQ number, I felt a headache coming on. Classmate, yay, I subconsciously swallowed. Senior, Chi-Chi. I had never looked at Chi-Chi's face closely before. Only in a situation like this did I see her features clearly. Her face had very typical Asian characteristics, the kind that was elegant and gentle. An immature thought flashed through my mind. Lin Huan, your daddy found you a wife. Classmate, yay. Chi-Chi's greeting pulled me back to reality. I gave an awkward smile. Why did you suddenly come to the publicity department? It wouldn't be because I put you in the school hunk competition, would it? No, not many people know about that. After calming down, Chi-Chi said seriously, Classmate Yi, what brings you to our publicity department today? I handed the proposal to Chi-Chi. Since I've come to the publicity department, I naturally have something to promote. Chi-Chi took the proposal with a smile. She was curious what a college student could possibly want her to promote. As she flipped through the proposal, her brow furrowed slightly. Fruit Ninja? Promoting a game? That's right. I've developed a game recently. However, it has very little traffic in the early stages, so I wanted to rely on Senior Chi's publicity department to promote it. Of course I can pay. As for how much, we can negotiate. Promoting a game, that's a bit difficult. After all, it's a school. The focus must still be on studying. It's fine. You can listen to my plan first. What plan? Chi-Chi uncrossed her legs and leaned forward slightly. It would be best to use school resources. However, I think there are other resources to utilize. Like you, Senior. Chi-Chi pointed at her own nose. Me? What can I do? In the early stages of the game, I'll set up phone number verification and an invitation code system. I'll send some unique invitation codes to the students in the publicity department who are willing to help. For every person you bring in, I held up 5 fingers. And I have full records on my back end. Chi-Chi let out a breath. Okay, then I agree. I'll help you prepare things lately. I spent the entire afternoon in the publicity department, watching the download count on the back end go from single digits to nearly 1,000 until my phone rang. Old Yi, wanna grab dinner? Best if you bring some pretty girls. Dazed, I looked at Chi-Chi sitting next to me. There might really be a pretty girl, and you two might have even met. With that, I hung up. Hearing what I said, Chi-Chi couldn't hide her curiosity. Who was it, Yiling? Asking you to dinner? I nodded. Wanna go? Chi-Chi's mind went blank. She seemingly couldn't believe it. Yiling asked me to dinner? The pretty girl you just mentioned was me. I blinked. Is it a surprise? Dimples appeared at the corners of Chi-Chi's mouth. So, Yiling, you think I'm quite pretty? As she spoke, she felt her heart racing. But at that moment, I was typing on my phone, Kaylay, I'm having dinner with Lin Huan tonight. I might not be able to find you right after, but I'll bring you some late-night snacks, okay? You go ahead and be busy. I'm fine. Just as long as you remember me. By the way, a girl is coming with me, just letting you know. Sukle replied with 2 simple words. It's fine. After replying, I looked up at the girl beside me. So, are you going? Chi-Chi said without hesitation, I'm going! But she quickly realized something. Yiling, what did you mean on the phone when you said that person and I have met? Lin Huan, my roommate in high school and college. Hearing those 3 words, a face immediately appeared in Chi-Chi's mind, along with a shamelessly brazen sentence from that bastard. Senior, would you consider me? In the internet cafe, a young girl wearing headphones had her legs propped up on the desk. She bit down and crushed the lollipop in her mouth. Okay, a girl, huh? I'm gonna see exactly which little girl it is. Meanwhile, Chi-Chi and I were walking aimlessly through the university square until we reached the main gate. Suddenly, I stood frozen on the spot. After a moment, I uttered a single simple word, Dad. Outside the gate, an old man was pointing at the 2 of us with a half smile, looking like Donnie Yen. Dad? Chi-Chi blurted out in confusion. The scene was a bit chaotic. I looked at my dad, then at Chi-Chi. Don't just go calling people that. But before I could finish, Yi-Jo had already approached Chi-Chi and taken her hand. Young lady, what's your name? Chi-Chi answered Yi-Jo's question somewhat shyly. Uncle, my name is Chi-Chi. Yi-Jo beamed, the name rolling off his tongue. Good name. Good name. Dad. Friends? Yi-Jo suddenly put on a stern face. Look at this place. Which pair here isn't a young couple? I was helpless. Please don't go matching people up randomly. Fine. I don't understand you young people. Dad, it's only mid-January. Why did you come here? Yi-Jo shifted his weight. Winter is almost over. I was afraid you didn't have the right clothes, so I knitted you 2 sweaters and came to see you. I nodded. After a moment of silence, Chi-Chi bumped my shoulder. It's still cold out. Don't let Uncle just stand here. Why don't we take Uncle to dinner? Yi-Jo muttered. Just as gentle as your mother. Hearing this, I felt like a thorn was stuck in my throat. The words were a bit poorly timed, but they invisibly spoke the truth in Yi-Jo's heart. Mom died early, but Dad missed her constantly. Looking at my dad, I called Lin Huan to add a seat, mentioning that my dad was coming. As I spoke, a hand landed on my shoulder. I felt a chill down my spine. I didn't need to look to know it was Lin Huan. Grandpa, why are you walking so slowly? Lin Huan sized up the silent person in front of him. Oh, Tilde. Not talking? Acting all cool and aloof? I looked at my old man in front of me, speechless. Lin Huan followed my gaze toward Yi-Jo, but what he said next was so shocking it nearly scared me witless. Security? Did he bother you? I cleared my throat. Is it possible that this is my dad? In a daze, I felt the heavy grip on my shoulders suddenly vanish. In the blink of an eye, Lin Huan was grasping Yi-Jo's weathered hands with both of his. Uncle Tilde! Hearing that exceptionally affectionate uncle, Chi-Chi burst into a series of giggles. The sound of her laughter sent an electric current through Lin Huan's brain. He turned back, fixed his eyes on her, and seemed to turn to stone. Chi-Chi, why are you here? Chi-Chi shrugged nonchalantly. Is it that strange? Lin Huan stammered. Old Yi, is this the pretty girl you were talking about? Chi-Chi was a bit annoyed. Am I that ugly? Lin Huan stuttered. Are you that pretty? Actually, compared to her, others are heavenly fairies, while you're the ash left in Lord Laozi's alchemy furnace. Lin Huan grabbed the hem of my shirt. Why are you taking her side? I'm your best bro! Don't underestimate the bond between us. This Chunibu talk left me feeling weary. Just because you wanted me to find you a pretty girl, my dad now thinks she's my girlfriend. Huh? Lin Huan then patted his chest. Don't worry, old Yi. A father takes responsibility for his mistakes. I couldn't help but frown. I had a feeling something bad was about to happen. Sure enough, Lin Huan turned to Yi-Jo with a sycophantic grin. Hey. Uncle, actually, that girl is my girlfriend. Yi-Jo's expression was complex, but his face clearly telegraphed one sentence. Do I look like an idiot to you? Go ahead and take credit then. No one can out-hustle you, Chi-Chi muttered under her breath. The atmosphere at the dining table was incredibly awkward. Lin Huan and Chi-Chi sat together looking no different from an old married couple. Come on, baby, open wide, Tilde. Lin Huan fished a piece of duck blood out of the pot and held it to Chi-Chi's lips. Chi-Chi stared hard at the piece of duck blood, her entire body radiating rejection. She mouthed the word, scram. Don't be like that, my lady. Help me out. Chi-Chi pouted. Oh. I'm ugly, remember? I'm not worthy of your duck blood, Tilde. Lin Huan felt the bitterness. Sister, I truly know I was wrong. Please, be the bigger person. Just treat everything I said before as farts in the wind. You wouldn't actually take advantage of the situation and tell his dad that you are Yi Ling's boyfriend, would you? Chi-Chi was fuming inwardly, but crossly swallowed the piece of duck blood. After a long while, Lin Huan finally did something decent. He got up to mix a dipping sauce for Chi-Chi and poured her a glass of water. Actually, I'm quite surprised you didn't take advantage of Yi Ling. Chi-Chi snapped back. What's there to be surprised about? Lin Huan pondered for a moment. I think if a girl likes a guy and they get randomly matched by an elder, she might just muddy the waters and let the rice be cooked into a meal. Chi-Chi poked at the meat Lin Huan had put in her bowl with her chopsticks. That would be dishonorable. If I like him, I'll make him like me first. At the other corner of the table, I looked like I was possessed or paralyzed. I hadn't touched a drop of water or a bite of food the whole time. Yi Zhou, on the other hand, was eating while eyeing the pot, occasionally glancing at Chi-Chi. You and little Shen have been at it for over 10 years without any results. Having said that, Yi Zhou took out the 2 sweaters he'd knitted. He gave one to me and one to Chi-Chi. My face felt disgraced. This was basically, I have officially recognized my daughter-in-law. Chi-Chi politely accepted the sweater. Thank you, uncle. Seemingly to give my old man face, she actually put the sweater on right then and there. She already put hers on. Why don't you try yours? If it doesn't fit, I'll take it back tonight and fix it for you. Dad, it's too hot in here. Yi Zhou let out a huff. Fine, I'll wear it. I helplessly pulled on the sweater that looked far too much like a couple's set. There, Dad, you satisfied? At that exact moment, the door to the hot pot restaurant opened. A figure moved incredibly fast, stopping dead right in front of me. I couldn't believe my eyes. Holy why did Sukle show up now? Kele, why are you here? Take it off. Sukle's non sequitur left my brain unable to process for a second. Lin Huan covered his forehead, pointed at my sweater, and then glanced at Chi-Chi. Only then did it click. Without a word, I tore the sweater off. I turned a bewildered gaze toward Lin Huan. Suddenly, the phone at the corner of the table vibrated. I stole a glance with my peripheral vision. Old Yi, I'm bowing down to you. Kelly just asked where we were eating, so I told her. I didn't expect Uncle to set us up for such a disaster. Reading the message, my teeth chattered with rage. Isn't this guy a literal king of hell? I pulled up another chair and took Sukle's hand, guiding her to sit down. Eat! Weren't you eating happily just now? You can't eat because I'm sitting next to you? Eating. I picked up my chopsticks, ready to eat. Then Sukle suddenly dropped another line. I tell you to eat, and you just eat? Then I won't eat. I kept my mouth shut, on the verge of a breakdown. After a long time, I asked bravely, didn't you say it was fine? When a girl says it's fine, can it ever really be fine? Sukle's eyes were wide with anger, but at the peak of her rage, she noticed Yi Zhou sitting next to me. Sukle looked at me, then at Yi Zhou. Who is this old guy? Wait, is this Yiling's father? Then what was with those 2 sweaters? Uncle gave them? Does he recognize her as his daughter-in-law? In Sukle's inner monologue, the way she looked at Chi-Chi became stranger and stranger. The house gets robbed the moment I stop watching Yiling. Instantly, her sense of defending her sovereignty rushed to her head. Kele. It's all a misunderstanding. It's fine, Tilda. An electric current surged through my brain, just from that sweet tingling. It's fine, Tilda. My mind crashed. What kind of mood was this? Sukle set her small bag aside, fished a piece of shrimp paste out of the pot, and held it to my lips with her chopsticks. Come on, open wide. Her eyes were full of tender affection, ridden with guilt. I didn't know if I should eat it or not. But looking at Sukle's sincere gaze, I ate it in an extremely intimate manner, right in front of my own father. This awkward dinner finally ended as time dragged on. Dad, aren't you gonna stay here for the night? In the cold wind, Yi Zhou lit an old cigarette. No. Sigh. That nice girl was probably fuming because of your old man. Watching my father's back fade into the distance under the streetlights, I wore a forced smile. My father traveled 600 kilometers just to have a meal with me, and it ended so abruptly. Perhaps my old man was right. No matter how complex my feelings were, I had to comfort the girl first. Kele, are you willing to talk to me? Sukle looked at me with a smile. Sure. What's up? For some reason, the more she acted like this, the more uneasy I felt. I have nothing going on with Chi-Chi. I know, but aren't you still angry about it? My steps froze at that moment. The hand in my palm was gone. I turned back to look. Sukle stood there, her hands clenched tight, looking as if she were straining with her whole body. Of course I'm angry. Her voice was thick with tears. That one moment made my heart melt completely. I stood in front of her and gently wiped away a tear from the corner of her eye with my finger. I'm sorry. I'm just a little unhappy, you know? Seeing you and Chi-Chi together, especially wearing the sweaters Uncle gave you, it makes me sad, really sad. The next moment, Sukle seemed to be at a loss for words, amused by her own little girl mentality. Her face turned a bit red as she tugged at the hem of my shirt with both hands. "So do you know what you're supposed to do now?" My voice was very soft. "What do you want me to do? I promise I'll do it." "Oh, I pulled Sukle into my arms, patting her head rhythmically, feeling the girl's rhythmic sobs. "But I'm not very good at comforting people. How about I grant you a wish? Any size." Sukele's head popped out from my chest with a beaming smile. "Is marrying me okay too?" Seeing my dazed expression, her crying vanished instantly. "Just kidding. I want ice cream, okay? Not that. You're on your period." With that, Sukle escaped my embrace and started running, shouting as she went, "You said you'd grant my wish." "No! Kele, come back. Do you smoke?" Under the streetlights, Lin Huan offered Chi-Chi a cigarette. Chi-Chi shook her head in refusal. Seeing Chi-Chi wasn't interested, Lin Huan tactfully put the cigarette in his own mouth. Chi-Chi stuffed the sweater into Lin Huan's hands. "Give this back to Ye Ling for me. It doesn't belong to me." "Come on, his uncle gave it to you and you don't want it? Talk about being ungrateful for a good deal." Chi-Chi frowned. "If it's not mine, it's not mine. You think I'm like you, taking whatever I can get?" "Lin Huan, you were way out of line today, you know that?" Lin Huan pinched out the cigarette butt. "No, why are you making such a fuss? With a personality like yours, when are you ever going to steal him away from Sukle?" In an instant, Chi-Chi grabbed Lin Huan's shirt with both hands, their faces drawn extremely close. "Lin Huan, are you a primitive organism? Why does liking someone have to mean possessing them? I find talking to you truly disgusting. Low-class tastes." Having said her piece, Chi-Chi shoved Lin Huan away and walked off into the evening wind alone. Under the streetlights, Lin Huan lit another cigarette, unbothered. Such a pretty girl, but her mouth is more toxic than mine. After resolving the conflict with Sukle, I dragged my heavy body back to the internet cafe. Once I had her settled in bed, I returned to the computer desk. I gently massaged my temples, images of Yi Zhou flashing through my mind. I reflected deeply on the day. Perhaps when you ponder things, they manifest. Yi Zhou's call came through to my phone. This time, my father's voice lacked its usual composure. Instead, it held a trace of loneliness. After chatting for a while, I realized he had only come because he knew I hadn't returned to the dorm for 2 months. He had clearly been worrying quite a bit. "Bring a girlfriend back to Wenzhou at the end of the year. It'll make the new year more lively," my father said before hanging up. Hearing the hint of longing in his voice, I looked at the sleeping girl beside me. We'll see where fate takes us. Since the phone had been on speaker, Lin Huan had naturally heard most of it. "Kelly is a really great girl. She's 100 times better than Shen Zhuqin. At least she won't leave you feeling cold-hearted all day, old Yi." I nodded in agreement. Character is sometimes far more important than love at first sight. Looks are often just the entry ticket. You have to judge people accurately. I made an oblique reference to Lin Huan. I didn't know how far his relationship with Cha Sue had progressed. "What do you think of Chi-Chi?" "Chi-Chi? She's a lunatic. She just finished cussing me out." I felt a wave of helplessness. If such a good girl was really ruined by a pile of cow dung like Lin Huan, wouldn't that be a waste of God's gifts? Over the next few days, under Chi-Chi's leadership in the publicity department, the total downloads of the game surged, quickly breaking the 10,000 mark. Since the parting at the hot pot restaurant, an unspoken barrier seemed to have formed between Chi-Chi and me. "Yi Ling, how is the game doing now?" I answered without thinking, "It's broken 10,000. It's on the recommended list of the game platform. I don't understand this industry. Can you explain?" "In short, very successful." I took a bank card from my pocket and placed it on the table. "There's 53,025 yuan here. I'll have to trouble you to distribute it to the team. Also, please tell them for me. I'm truly grateful." Chi-Chi looked at the bank card on the table with surprise. "Yi Ling, you really continue to exceed my expectations. 50,000 yuan. You just hand it over like that? Is your family very rich?" I denied it. "Quite the opposite. It's very difficult." Chi-Chi thought for a moment. "Isn't it precisely because it's difficult that you should move forward steadily? One person's joy is another's sorrow." On a bed in the girls' dormitory, a girl was tossing and turning restlessly. Below the bunk, 5 girls were holding their phones, playing Fruit Ninja. Shen Zhuqin lay flat on the bed. Hearing them praise Yi Ling for this and that, it felt like 10,000 ants were crawling over her. She couldn't help but tap her phone and send a text to Liu Qingqing. "Qingqing, Why has Yi Ling become so successful now? Do you think I really chose wrong? Zhuxin, what are you thinking about again? Yi Ling just tinkered together a game. What's the big deal? I don't know. I just feel so sad. It feels like two giant rocks are pressing on my chest. Oh, stop it. You were just triggered by others. Didn't they say Yi Ling spent 50,000 yuan to have the publicity department promote it? If someone spent 50,000 on me, I could make your school beauty reputation reach Tsinghua and Peking University. Ching Ching, is that really it? After listening to Liu Qingqing's analysis for a while, Shen Zhiqin slowly began to relax. After organizing the plan for the first batch of games, I remained on the edge of silent waiting. Now that the game was on the recommended list, a talent scout would naturally come knocking. Of course, I couldn't just wait forever. I had to redeem Sukle's house as soon as possible. I felt the business card in my pocket, Tong Xiaoqi. At a desk in the JX company, two people arrived half an hour early. I brought a small bottle of brown sugar water for Sukle, who had a cold stomach. Kele, your stomach is cold. Drink some brown sugar water. Sukle leaned against my shoulder like a little bird, taking small sips of the brown sugar water. I held her small hand. So well behaved today? Usually, you won't even drink brown sugar water when I ask, Sukle pouted and whispered. Not as well behaved as you. No, you are. You're the best. Fine, I'm the well-behaved one. Then I'll let you play with my legs. I couldn't help but laugh, flicking Sukle's pretty nose with my finger. Sukle dodged back slightly, but her hands were tightly hooked around my arm. I was wondering why this building suddenly smelled so sour with love. The closed glass door was pushed open. A man leaned against the doorway, his mouth clicking. Miss Su looks very beautiful today. Comrade Yi Ling? You look somewhat human too, huh? Hearing this, I didn't find it offensive. Instead, I felt it was rare for an elder to have such a youthful mindset. Give me the inside scoop. When are you getting together? Kele, if you come to my company, I'll give you a special privilege. You can date whoever you want, how about it? This sudden question made Sukle's cheeks flush. She stole a glance at me and then quietly lowered her head. Not yet. Then it's only a matter of time. Dong Xiaoqi waved his hand, seemingly satisfied with the answer. I'm telling you, Yi Ling, with such a good girl, get together sooner. Look at how pretty she is. I massaged my forehead. Wasn't it said that the older one gets, the more they avoid saying the wrong thing? How is your game doing? It's been 2 months if I remember correctly, I smiled. Right now, it has nearly 90,000 downloads. It's already on the store's recommended list. Tong Xiaoqi was startled by the achievement. Then what do you plan to do? What price are you estimating in your head? I remember I told you in the bar, 5 million, not a cent less. Tong Xiaoqi gave a playful smile. How about you sell it to me? 5 million. I'll guarantee it for you. What do you think? I shook my head. That won't be necessary. I can't just take advantage of your generosity. Tong Xiaoqi laughed loudly. You sure are honest. 2 days later, on Kyoto Avenue, a girl spun around in a boy's arms, again and again. Sukle held my phone, counting the digits in the ICBC message I don't know how many times. It's really 5,300,000. But the person who bought the game truly surprised me. Lei Zun. Come on, I'm taking you shopping. I tightened my grip on Sukle's hand and looked toward the nearby mall. Sukle had suffered with me for so long, I definitely had to buy her some things to make up for it. But just as I took half a step, she stopped. I slowly turned my head to look at Sukle, whose face bore a hint of a flush. I don't want to go shopping. Spending your money? It hurts my heart. I rubbed her head. But my heart hurt when you were living in the internet cafe with me. Don't you hate that kind of life? No, Sukle blurted out without hesitation. I think being with you is enough. I hesitated, my eyes full of this girl who seemed infused with starlight. Then what do you want to do? There are so many things I want to do, like seeing mountains and water. But right now, I want to hear you sing. I raised an eyebrow. What do you want me to sing? Sukle lowered her head, fidgeting with her fingers. The Little Green Dragon. Stop it. How old am I? Singing The Little Green Dragon. Why not? Sukle strode forward, dragging me by the wrist to the riverside. She put her hands to her mouth like a megaphone and started singing to herself. After a few lines, her face turned red. She coughed twice, then carefully snuggled into my arms, the corners of her mouth curling into little dimples. I've sung so much for you, hurry up and sing. I let out a long breath, looking around awkwardly. I felt a bit embarrassed. Is the little brother not singing because he has something on his mind? If you finish singing, I'll give you a reward, okay? Pretty please? Sukle rubbed her face against my chest. That tingly, melting coquettishness made my heart race. I shook my body to pump myself up, then shouted toward the lake. I have horns on my head. I have a tail behind me. The nursery rhyme drifted along the willow bank into the distance. By the time I finished the song, my face was bright red. My mind was a bit dazed, but one spot on my cheek felt a slight, sudden warmth. A lip print was stamped on my cheek. The lipstick felt like it was infused with fire, continuing to burn against my skin. Song, not bad. The lip prints on both sides matched. These two unreasonable kisses sent waves of emotion crashing through my heart. Seeing my flustered state, Sukle was secretly delighted. She let go of my waist and began to waddle small steps across the grass by the river. I followed cautiously behind her, terrified she might trip on the sloped bank. I reached out to support her, but Sukle broke free from my grip, lying flat on the grass with her arms wide, screaming at the top of her lungs. The wind is so strong, can it blow your heart to me too? Her posture was quite like a tough guy's. I couldn't help but laugh, wanting to push her gently and tell her it was damp here. But her next move made me lose focus for a second. She held out two slender fingers toward me. I was silent for a while. Are you asking me for a cigarette? Don't you think a cigarette would feel great in this atmosphere? No, I've mostly quit. Why should you smoke? Then we'll smoke together. Sukle pinched the flesh on my waist. The piercing pain made me knit my brows. Why do I feel like you're the one who's been drinking? Kile, are you being a crazy drunk with me? Sukle didn't let go. Instead, she gripped harder. What right do you have to lecture me? Every time you get drunk, don't you act like you're half dead? Don't slander me. I've never been drunk in front of you. But Lin Huan has seen it. I laughed helplessly. I'm a guy and you're a girl. I can drop my pants and pee on the street, can you? Why couldn't I? Sukle shot back, her face red. I bit my lip, silently took off my jacket, and covered her legs. Kele, stop playing. I just wanted to get up, but Sukle's hand gripped me like a vice. Her eyes were overflowing with moisture, her voice choking up. Sometimes, the more you like someone, the more you want to become like them. Wanting to drink like him, smoke like him, act like a dead dog just like him. The biting wind blew against me, leaving me incredibly clear-headed. I stood there frozen, making no move. But Sukle gave me a domineering pull, erasing the distance between our bodies. Yi Ling, I really like you. Kele, you shouldn't be the one confessing to me. Sukle toyed with her messy strands of hair, looking as if she might be regretting her words. Yi Ling, let's go. Back to... I pulled Sukle's body into a tight embrace. She tried to break free, but I refused to let go. Kele, come home with me for the new year. I will give you a real confession. I definitely liked Sukle, there was no doubt about that. But I felt that a confession wasn't something a girl should have to do, so I planned to take her home for the holidays and give her a perfect proposal then. Sukle didn't mind my seemingly absurd logic. Instead, she looked forward to that New Year's confession even more. For the following week, we went to Kyoto. One time, Sukle was hiking up a slope with me. Yi Ling, my legs are so tired from walking. Hearing this, I instinctively swept Sukle up in a bridal carry and walked for a full 3 kilometers. Yi Ling, be a little gentler, you're hurting me. Why did you suddenly become so domineering? Is it wrong for me to care about you? Am I not heavy? Not heavy at all. A little weight like yours is barely a snack for me. I regretted saying that less than 5 minutes later. After all, Sukle's figure was genuinely top tier. Even the extra curves women usually have were much more substantial on her. Back at the hotel, Sukle should have been busy with the usual hassle of removing makeup, but instead, she searched the entire hotel just to bring me a bowl of ginger soup. At the time, I was a bit confused. I carried you back specifically so you wouldn't have to walk, and now you're running all over the hotel in high heels? Isn't that counterproductive? But Sukle marched to the beat of her own drum. She ignored my questioning tone and simply fed me the ginger soup. 1 spoonful at a time. She stared at me with wide eyes, and whatever momentum I had left instantly withered. It's because you're sick. How am I sick? You just are. And I'm sick too. If I weren't, would I be sticking to you every day? Now hurry up and drink. Fine, fine, fine. At that moment, I realized just how beautiful it is to be loved by someone. Soon, the two returned to Shanchang, back to the university they called home. After getting off the plane, Sukle and I dropped our luggage at an internet cafe I'd booked for the day, thinking we'd head to the school to check in first. It was freezing cold. I bought a hot drink for Sukle, but I didn't get one for myself. Sukle poked the straw through the lid, but she offered me the first sip. I acted calm on the surface, but that hot drink truly warmed me to the core. Sukle sipped her drink with gusto, holding my hand and hopping along the road like a little rabbit. Her hand was soft and delicate, yet it was this same hand that could smash a keyboard with one slap. After a bit of a city walk, we drifted into a shopping mall hand in hand. We were here to prepare New Year's gifts, as we couldn't return to our hometown empty-handed. After buying the gifts, I didn't intend to leave, but just as I stepped onto the escalator, Sukle blinked and alertly tugged at my sleeve. "What are you doing?" I shrugged and said with a grin. "Don't worry, I'm not thinking of buying anything for you, I'm buying for myself." Sukle crossed her arms over her chest. "Big spender." I laughed helplessly and instinctively offered an arm for her to take. Sukle took 2 steps back like a classic tsundere, but eventually gave in and linked her arm with mine. That stubborn streak of hers always made me want to laugh and cry at the same time. As we walked, Sukle felt more and more that something was wrong. The storefront displayed 4 large words. Valentino. "Is this the buying for yourself you mentioned?" "Yeah." "Oh, tilde, so you wear silk stockings?" "Of course not, they're for you." Without a word, Sukle punched me twice on the forehead, making me wail in protest. "Fine, Yiling. You've learned how to lie to me now. Didn't you say you weren't buying me anything?" I bluffed with a straight face. Yes, they're for you to wear, but they're for me to look at." "You're impossible." Sukle's face turned bright red. Half an hour earlier, Bai Chen, "Do these heels look good?" On the sofa, Bai Chen sat with his legs crossed. He stared at Shen Juqin's elegant feet with lingering desire, occasionally shifting to hide his physiological reaction. Before Bai Chen could speak, Liu Qingqing chimed in. "Oh my god, Juqin, these heels suit you perfectly. They look amazing." Liu Qingqing looked at Bai Chen with envy, thinking how nice it would be if she could land a rich boyfriend one day. However, Bai Chen remained expressionless because he had already seen the price tag. Damn it, 13,000 for a pair of heels? I'd have to be insane to spend 13 grand just for a woman's smile. "Sir, why aren't you saying anything?" The shop assistant remained respectful. Judging by Bai Chen's clothes, she knew he was from a wealthy family. Bai Chen took a sip of the store's complimentary mid-range wine. "I think they don't look as good as that 2,000 yuan pair from earlier." Shen Juqin bit her lip, unwilling to give up. She sat on the sofa and leaned her head on Bai Chen's shoulder, using a high-pitched, cutesy voice. "But I really want this pair. Am I buying them for you, or are you buying them for me?" Shen Juqin was instantly speechless, her temper completely extinguished. "Your thoughts are impure. Then just assume I'm impure, tilde." Entering the store, I looked around. Valentino was indeed different. Every pair of heels looked like high-end luxury. "May I help you too with anything? Please bring a few suitable pairs, price is not an issue. If my partner looks good in them, I'll buy them." The manager's eyes lit up immediately upon hearing this. Sukle sat beside me, pinching my arm. "There's no need to be like this, even if we are buying." I reached out and gently pulled her head onto my shoulder. "Shh, be good. Spending money on the girl you like isn't called spending. It's an investment." Sukle's face flushed instantly. The manager quickly brought out 3 different but exquisite pairs of heels. "Hello, sir. The prices for these 3 are..." "I don't need to know the price." I then knelt on one knee in front of Sukle, picked up a heel, and personally put it on her foot. Sukle couldn't suppress the redness in her cheeks. She gazed at the boy putting on her shoes, her eyes filled with love. Once the diamond-studded buckle was fastened, I looked at her foot with satisfaction. Very beautiful. I looked up and gave Sukle a doting smile. Sukle's face was red and her voice was tiny. "Which vixen, did you put shoes on before? Why are you so practiced at this?" I shrugged. "I practiced a long time in private just so I could do it for you." Instantly, Sukle's face turned even redder. She covered her mouth with her hand. "Fine, so this was all premeditated." "Exactly. And what are you going to do about it?" Sukle was speechless. Right now, she was like a lamb to the slaughter, unable to do anything but endure the teasing. I had her try on all 3 pairs. They all looked great. "Wrap these all up for me later." The manager nodded happily, finding the whole scene somewhat unbelievable. Sukle didn't dare speak, because she knew these heels must be incredibly expensive. But I wasn't finished yet. Kele, how about you change into a couple of pairs of silk stockings too? Sukle reacted instinctively. What do you want to do? I want to see. My eyes were wide with anticipation. Fine, you used to have the intent, but no guts. Now you have the guts too. Before I could say another word, Sukle gave me a champion's pull, instantly locking my head against her chest with her arm. You sure are honest, aren't you? Still want to see? No, I quickly slapped my own mouth. The weather isn't warm yet. I'm buying you stockings so you don't freeze. Then why don't you just buy me some long johns? Long johns? You can't tear them. I let the rogue comment slip and immediately shut my mouth. Some jokes are best kept brief, but I really did buy the stockings. Looking at them, I was already fantasizing about a beautiful life. Why buy so many pairs? Sukle pouted like a little bitter melon. I patted her head. If you have a lot of clothes, you need a lot of stockings. How about we buy you some more clothes too? Sukle thought for a moment. Actually, I really don't have any clothes for the spring. We went on a shopping spree, and I became a pure tool man, draped in bags and boxes. Although I was exhausted, my heart felt wonderful. Walking through the mall with Sukle, my gaze stopped at a rug Republic of Gamers specialty store. Thinking about how I had trashed Lin Huanhuan's computer for 2 months, I decided to buy him a gift. I went in and asked for a top-spec Eye of the Spendthrift laptop. The two of us chased and played throughout the mall, a bit naive and a bit childish, but I was more than willing to be childish with her. Sukle's big eyes unconsciously lingered on a tanghulu, candied fruit stall. I caught the signal and quickly ran back to her with a stick of candied haws. Sukle hadn't even realized I'd gone to buy them. She blinked, looking at the tanghulu in my hand with surprise. For you, Sukle grabbed it like a child, but just as she was about to take a bite, she paused and unexpectedly placed it at my lips. You eat first. I smiled helplessly and took the first bite, which shouldn't have been mine. Is it sweet? It wouldn't have been that sweet, but since you're feeding it to me, it's much sweeter. Sukle smiled, revealing her little fangs, her eyes crinkling into slits. Tanghulu isn't usually that sweet, but if Yeling gives it to me, it must be sweet. Yeling, why are you here too? I snapped back to reality and looked at the 3 people in front of me with surprise. Talk about a small world, I shrugged. What do you mean, why am I here too? Is this building off limits to me? At that moment, Liu Qingqing's gaze fell on the brand names on the bags in my hand until she saw a pair of heels. Zhuxin, aren't those the shoes you just wanted to buy? Shen Zushin, whose eyes had been lingering on Yeling's face, immediately looked away and locked onto that pair of Valentino heels she had been dreaming of. She felt a surge of resentment. In the past, she might have felt embarrassed in front of Yeling, but today, with Liu Qingqing and Bai Chen there, she believed she wouldn't lose face. In this hidden battlefield, only Liu Qingqing, that money grubber, couldn't take her eyes off the luxury goods in my hands. She was even a bit agitated. Yeling, how did you buy so much? Did you buy all of this alone? I acted indifferent. It's not that much, just buying a few things for my girlfriend since spring is coming. But Bai Chen, walking over slowly, whispered with disdain, some people really love to fake it when they have no talent. Since it's such a coincidence, why don't we head downstairs together? We can catch up since it's been 2 months. Shen Zuxian said haughtily, let's go then. And so the 5 of us took the escalator and walked out of the mall. The wind outside was freezing. I took off my jacket and tied it around Sukle's waist. It's freezing out. Don't you value your life? They're so annoying. Why do we run into them every day? I sighed. Yeah. Recalling the things Bai Chen had said to me in the bar and his fantasies about Sukle, a strange look crossed my eyes. Shouldn't his family's business be going bankrupt soon? I laughed to myself, shook my head, and patted Sukle's head. This seemed to be the best way to reassure her. Sukle shrank her neck lazily. She saw a shooting gallery toy shop. I want to play that. I looked at the shop in surprise, but Sukle grabbed my hand and ran straight to the front. Boss, how do you play this? Sukle tilted her head with innocent curiosity. 20 yuan for 20 shots. If you hit 18, you get a big doll. I looked at Sukle, whose eyes radiated clear-headed stupidity. Boss, give me 20 yuan worth. Yeling, do you even know how to shoot? I don't, but I know how to shoot down planes. Translator's note, slang for self-gratification. Bai Chen rolled his eyes. I trained for a while at a formal firearms camp in the USA. My marksmanship is decent. I gave a rogue smile. Report to the senior. I'm pretty average. I used to shoot chains birds on a mountain in San Francisco. Compared to your training camp, I'm still lacking. Damn, who doesn't know how to throw around English words? Bai Chen was irritated by my rogue-like attitude. Why don't we compete? I shook my head with a look of disgust. Senior, how old are you? Still wanting to compete with people? Why don't we let Shen Zuxin and my Kele compete instead? Bai Chen was very unhappy with my expression. Fine. Zuxin, make sure you show them up. His serious tone made Shen Zuxin uncomfortable. Under Bai Chen's commanding gaze, she fired shot after shot, but not a single bullet hit a balloon. Bai Chen was furious. He couldn't possibly doubt his own level, so the fuse was lit at Shen Zuxin. Zuxin, are you even trying? Of course I am. Shen Zuxin's temper flared up instantly as well, but at that moment, I tugged at Shen Zuxin's sleeve. Don't get excited, miss. Don't fire so fast. Relax. It's just a toy gun. Is there really a need to listen to Bai Chen's exaggeration? Aim a little to the left. The barrel is crooked. You have to slow down when you fire. Try it again like that. Shen Zuxin didn't reject my words. Instead, she tried it with a mysterious feeling. Hey, I actually hit it. Shen Zuxin was overjoyed. But just as she turned to look at Yiling with a smile, I was already standing behind Sukle, my chin resting on her shoulder. In that moment, Shen Zuxin felt a wave of envy. Sukle pouted crossly. You taught her, so how can we compete now? What are you afraid of? You have me, don't you? Next, I gripped Sukle's hand that was holding the gun. Hold on, today I'll show you what full radar looks like. Sukle felt the warmth from the back of her hand and instinctively shivered. I squeezed the trigger. The gun that had been so inaccurate in Shen Zuxin's hands now felt as if it were guided by God in mine. As Sukle heard the shots, the world seemed to go on mute. Each bullet whistled through the air, and balloon after balloon burst. Go pick your favorite big doll. Sukle didn't react at first, not until I gave her a nudge. She ran blankly toward the pile of dolls and picked a large brown bear wearing a dress. You said you'd let the two girls compete, so why did you interfere? Bai Chen clenched his fists, his heart like a volcano about to erupt. I didn't look at him directly. Instead, taking a piece of tanghulu from Sukle's hand and putting it in my mouth. If you had helped Shen Zuxin, I wouldn't have said a word either. Fine, Bai Chen barked, and his two hands aggressively grabbed Shen Zuxin's hands. But Shen Zuxin stood as still as an ice sculpture. She just trembled, the corners of her mouth twitching. Enough! Stop touching me! Her roar cut through the air. I fell silent as I opened a pack of lollipops. I looked over and saw only the refraction of light. She was crying with such helplessness, but it had nothing to do with me. Shen Zuxin shook off Bai Chen's grasp. The sound of her high heels was sharp and rapid as she tried to leave the place as quickly as possible. Liu Qingqing watched Shen Zuxin's back and chased after her in a hurry. Bai Chen stood frozen. Then, with a bang, the airgun in his hands shattered into pieces. He slammed a fist on the table and turned to leave. I only heard his final sentence. Yiling, we're at the same school. You've got it coming. I took a 100 yuan bill from my belt and put it on the table, signaling it was compensation for the owner. Although I wasn't the one who broke it, business is business. I used to do these kinds of jobs when I had no money. I understand them from the bottom of my heart. I swallowed my anger toward Bai Chen and turned to offer my final tenderness of the day to Sukle. Hungry? Come on, let's go get some late-night snacks. As if the heavens were smiling on us, it actually began to snow tonight. In the midst of the falling snow, I hallucinated the image of Kelly in a wedding dress. It made me ask myself, when would I be able to walk with a bride-clad Sukle in a world that belonged only to the two of us? Lost in my thoughts, my lips instinctively kissed Sukle's forehead. A finger quietly reached up to my temple. Sukle took a snowflake off me. She blew gently, and the snowflake drifted toward the north. We also walked hand in hand toward the next north. After getting out of the car, Shen Zuxin carried her exhausted soul into the dormitory building. Every step in the hallway felt like she was being haunted. Back in the dorm, she silently took off the new high heels and held them in her hands, but her eyes were hallucinating that other pair of heels she was obsessed with. Her chest felt like it was being crushed by a boulder. Then, She scrolled through her chat history with Yeling. Zukshin, do you want me to bring you breakfast? Zukin, let's go see the ocean. Zushin, look at this photo I took of you. Isn't it beautiful? It's Christmas. I bought you a huge apple. If we get together, I will definitely spoil you for a lifetime. Sure enough, the further she scrolled up the chat history, the more Yeling had loved her. Zukin, Zukin, Zukin. The dormitory door was kicked open with brute force by Liu Qingqing. This good sister didn't seem to notice the emotional wound in Shen Juqin's heart. Instead, she was ecstatic. Zuxin, did you see? Everything in Yeling's hands was brand name. Pure luxury goods, one after another. That limited edition bag alone is at least 14,000. Then there's that 500 yuan Gucci signature belt. Even that laptop was the top-spec Rogue model. I almost got killed by my dad for wanting to buy one before it's over 20,000. And those Valentino heels, you even tried them on. Didn't you always love them? And Shen Zuxin grit her teeth, her eyes full of impatience. Liu Qingqing, if you think the things in Ye Ling's hands are so great, then why don't you push Sukle out and become his girlfriend? The things Bai Chen gives me aren't bad either, thanks. Liu Qingqing gave an awkward smile. She finally realized she had overexcited herself. Just kidding. Zuxin, how can you say that? I'm just curious how this Yeling suddenly became so rich. The stuff those two were holding is worth almost 200,000. Upon hearing this, a stone seemed to drop in Shen Zhishin's heart. She stammered, 200,000? That much? Liu Qingqing nodded vigorously with total certainty. Could my eyes be wrong? You know I look at bags online every day to pass the time. I know these luxury brands better than anyone. In an instant, Shen Zuxin's mood hit rock bottom. Thinking back to the past, Ye Ling had always been at her beck and call. Although he bought breakfast and holiday gifts, she had never seen him be this generous. Ye Ling, why are you so good to a girl you just met? Is it just because she slept with you? But she didn't know that what she saw was already Ye Ling's everything. In the night market, Sukle and I ate steaming hot dumplings, our hearts feeling incredibly warm. Don't you think the weather is too cold? Strangely cold. Yeah, cold. Sukle kept her head down, eating her dumplings. She said those two words and just kept eating. I tapped her forehead. Do you have to be so perfunctory? Sukle wailed. Didn't you ask me if it's cold? So I said it's cold. I rolled my eyes. Well, that's true. Then, a scream of pain. Sukele's fist slammed into my leg. That small burst of brute force instantly turned my face into a bitter melon expression of pain.